If you're running an e-commerce brand, this might be one of the most important videos you will ever watch. Over the next 60 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to make Google Ads the most reliable and profitable acquisition channel for your e-commerce brand. Every single day on Google, there are millions of people searching for products exactly like yours, but the chances are you're simply not there to capture them. When you properly leverage Google Ads to consistently show your products at the top of these search results, you can easily generate an extra $50,000 to $100,000 per month in revenue. And at the end of this video, I'll build an ad account from scratch with every type of campaign you need so you can copy and paste your way to success on Google Ads. If you don't know me, my name is Max, and in the past 3 years, I've generated over $50 million on Google for my clients like Blaze, Kiss Active, Alamo Smart Home, and many more brands in almost every niche imaginable. So now that you know who I am, let's get started. Hello everybody, and welcome to the very first module of this Google Ads course. Now, in this module, what I want to do is introduce you to everything that we are going to be walking through in this full structure guide and setup guide on how to create a Google Ads account for an e-commerce brand that is going to generate fantastic results. So how will we do it? We will work with primarily these campaign types over the course of several integration steps, and I will walk you through the exact process of setting up these specific campaigns all the way along this chart here. We'll have a different video for each campaign type, and I'll break down absolutely everything from the settings to the keywords to absolutely everything you need to create these campaigns on screen now and create a full funnel marketing system in Google Ads. So let's get right into it. First of all, we have the search campaigns. Now, these are the most fundamental campaign type in Google Ads, the absolute bread and butter, what Google Ads has been running on for forever. And look, to be honest, in e-commerce accounts, search campaigns aren't as necessary as they are in service-based accounts. However, your branded search plays a very big role in the account, and I will get to exactly why in a moment. But non-branded search is not quite as important as shopping campaigns. In saying that, it is very important to still learn how to set them up correctly because they certainly serve a purpose in a lot of e-commerce accounts. So what is a non-branded search campaign and what is a branded search campaign? Now, branded search implies that this is a search campaign which is targeting terms for your brand specifically. So let's take, for example, a brand that sells kitchen and cookware called Peter's Pans. All right. Any terms or searches that include Peter's Pans, right? The brand name itself, that is what is classified as a branded search. It's something that innately contains intent for your brand specifically, not for any other brand, not for just general products. Now, a non-branded search would be something like non-stick fry pan, for example, right? Now, this has no brand intent, has no brand knowledge or link in there. It's simply just a search for a product. And that is what differentiates non-branded versus branded search. Now, it's very important to differentiate these because most of your scaling in the account will come from non-branded search campaigns. So it's very important to get non-branded set up well if you want to scale with search, right? They need to be separated for a range of reasons. One of which is, like I said, the new customer acquisition. Another one is attribution within the account. And another one is simply training the algorithm correctly. You don't want to be mixing signals to the algorithm. If you have branded and non-branded in the same campaign, Google's going to get very mixed signals on where it should be targeting and who it should be targeting. So it's not going to be an effective campaign. And that is the basics of our search campaigns. Apologies for that one. Next up, after the search campaigns, are shopping campaigns. Now, these are the most important part in an e-commerce account specifically, right? This is where you get a listing up the top of the results where you have a presented image with your product image, product price, product shipping times. It is a full product image and product listing rather than the search campaign, which is just a text listing in the search results on Google, right? So these shopping campaigns are very, very powerful because they make people have a much stronger response when they see the product with all of the quick summary details and an opportunity to go directly to the product page. Now, within shopping campaigns, you once again have two separate streams of traffic. You have non-branded shopping and branded shopping. Now, this plays a very similar role to the non-branded search and branded search in that you want to be scaling your non-branded shopping campaigns and you want to be using branded shopping just to capture any incoming branded traffic to supply Google with plenty of data on what your ideal customers look like. Now, there's a lot of people who may be sitting here right now going, why would I bid on branded terms? These are people who already know about me. These people are already coming to me. Why would I pay for them? The reason is it's a very, very cheap source of high quality traffic and high quality data. It is arguably the cheapest way to gather data for a Google Ads account and supply the algorithm with that data, which can train it to perform much better in the future. So branded campaigns are absolutely necessary in any high performing account. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a single account that's performing at an extremely high level that doesn't have a branded campaign. You need to be capturing that data in some way to train the algorithm effectively, which speeds up all of your campaign learning cycles and just increases your performance as a whole in the account. So absolutely fundamental campaigns. And if you hear people say branded are terrible and a waste of time, they're wrong. Admittedly, they're wrong. Nothing is black and white in Google Ads, right? Some accounts may benefit less from branded. Absolutely. Some of them may benefit more from branded. No doubt about it. But nothing is ever black and white. It's never you cannot use this or you cannot use this, except for a few settings here and there. But for the most part, it is very variable and they are very useful in many accounts. Now, search and shopping campaigns are the primary campaign types that are going to be responsible for driving the majority of your scaling and acquisition traffic, right? And that's why they're step one of the implementation process. So these are the type of campaigns that we introduce right from the start of the account, and we bring them in at the very beginning so they can start driving new customers into our store, driving existing customers in through branded traffic to give us more data and just getting Google off the ground. Now, once we have it off the ground and we're starting to get some customers flowing in, we move on to step two, which is composed of primarily remarketing efforts, right? So we have remarketing campaigns, direct remarketing campaigns in the form of video campaigns and display campaigns. Now, these campaign types are basically either a video campaign, which has audiences added of basically users who have previously visited your site and maybe not converted, maybe added to cart, maybe begun checkout. Those kind of people, we're going to gather their data and retarget ads to those people. So these are very high intent users who've already shown interest in your product. They just haven't quite turned over yet and converted. So we want to be showing more and more ads to them over and over again to try and tip them over the edge and get that purchase. So that is through video. Video I find to be the most effective tactic with high quality creatives because they're just more engaging, more convincing if they're done well. But we can also use display campaigns, right? Display campaigns, once again, targeting these customers who may have visited but not yet purchased, even customers who have purchased and we're trying to get them to purchase again. Very, very useful. So in both cases, we're looking to reapproach and re-engage customers, ultimately pushing up the LTV of customers and also the acquisition, right? Very important campaign types. But we can also run remarketing through Pmax campaigns. Now, this one is a little bit different in that if you're running Pmax campaigns correctly, there's a very good opportunity to use them as retargeting machines. Now, Pmax is a very tricky campaign type where if it's done incorrectly, it will swallow all of your traffic, ruin your attribution, and probably derail your entire account. This is why it's something that I don't necessarily recommend for beginners unless you know what you're doing. And I typically lean towards standard remarketing campaigns for those who are newer to Google Ads. However, if you can use Pmax right, it can be incredibly powerful, right? Because, for example, a standard Pmax campaign, right? This is a Pmax campaign that can serve on all placements, can serve on search, shopping, display, video, everywhere. And what it will do is if you give it a product feed, which is similar to your shopping campaign product feed, then the data will be exchanged between these two campaigns, right? Your shopping and Pmax will exchange data, which allows you to retarget users from your shopping campaigns with the extreme retargeting capabilities of Pmax. Pmax is a very, very strong machine that can retarget users just about anywhere on the internet. It can find them in Gmail, on YouTube, on search and shopping, everywhere, right? So they are very powerful when they're used correctly. Now, a safer option a lot of the times is a feed-only Pmax. This is just a shopping feed Pmax, which won't have placements in search, video, sometimes display. It sometimes has placements, but it's a very, very shopping feed focused campaign, right? So using, again, a similar feed in this campaign to your shopping campaigns allows you to retarget effectively and really get a high quality funnel system running where you have constant touch points with all the people moving through your system. Now, these retargeting efforts characterize step 2, which is now something that you want to get started after you've already gathered significant data, which takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So once you give Google roughly 4 to 6 weeks, again, this is very variable, depending on what your budget is, dependent on what kind of products you're selling and how many sales you're getting. There's lots and lots of factors that go into it. But generally, if you're running with a reasonable budget, you can start to integrate these campaigns after about 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes earlier if you're running a really high budget, but we don't want to complicate this too much. So this is a general guideline, not strict by any means, but hopefully helpful. This is the point where you'd be introducing these campaigns. Finally, we have the demand gen campaigns, which are in the form of either video-only demand gen campaigns or all-asset campaigns. So demand gen is the final step of the funnel. Our branded search is the very bottom of the funnel, right? These are people who know about us, they know about our product, and they're ready to buy. They're just looking for our product to buy right now. Non-branded, for example, non-branded shopping, these are people who are sort of in the middle of the funnel, right? They're looking for the product, but not necessarily our brand. So this is like people who are interested, but they just don't know about our brand yet. So these are also very useful to capitalize on, right? Now, with what we're targeting with demand gen is the very top of the funnel. So these are people who they may not even know about the product. They may not know they have the problem. And you're showing them, hey, this is how you solve X problem, right? If you're Peter's Pans and you're selling a non-stick frying pan, you say, are you sick of food sticking to your pans, right? That's, maybe a very simple example, but are you sick of food sticking to your pans? And then you show them a very high quality creative and you convince them that they need to buy this pan. And so this is now what we call top of funnel traffic. So it's people who may not have considered the product, may not have considered your brand, may not have considered anything at all, and you're just showing them an ad. Very similar to Meta ads, Facebook ads, Snapchat ads, Pinterest ads, all those other kind of ad platforms that don't have the same targeting capabilities as Google when it comes to bottom of funnel stuff. And this is step 3. The reason it's step 3 is because you don't want to be introducing the top of funnel efforts until you've really saturated your bottom of funnel and middle of funnel, because your bottom of funnel and middle of funnel campaigns will be producing much cheaper conversions and typically much higher quality traffic, because you're getting people who are already interested in the product, already interested in your brand, and you're converting them. Whereas on the top of funnel campaigns like demand gen, you are finding people who've never thought of you, and it's going to cost more for a conversion, right? So that's why I typically recommend not to introduce these campaign types until you've pretty much fully saturated your bottom of funnel and middle of funnel efforts. Maybe if you're a really big account, you already have proven creatives on Meta, you already know it works. Sure, go ahead, bring them over. You can even get, profitable acquisition on these top of funnel channels, at which point it's basically a money printer, right? You're just creating more and more customers out of thin air who are coming into your funnel, coming through these campaigns, generating more and more money for you, and just creating an awesome full funnel marketing system that is completely independent from any other channel. It's really, really good stuff. Now, I didn't break down the specific campaign types here, but like I said, video only demand gen. This implies a demand gen campaign that's just using video assets for YouTube ads. The reason we sometimes do it this way is because video campaigns, the existing video campaigns, are sort of getting sunset by Google, and they'll probably be gone sometime next year. So it's probably best to keep on the cutting edge of Google and work with their preferred campaign types. In this case, it's demand gen. So basically just running YouTube ads to cold customers through this demand gen campaign type, which only has video assets. And then our other option is to use all assets on demand gen. So demand gen can show across multiple platforms. It can show across YouTube, display, search. It can show up in a lot of places. So basically what you can do is fill it up with all possible assets and then let it show everywhere. But typically that's a lower efficiency than video, and that's just why we start with video. Anyway, we'll get into more detail on that as we continue on. But this is the overall structure that we are going to be working with in this course. This is what I have found to be the simplest and most effective structure that you can work with in a Google Ads account to create a full funnel marketing system that can make you really, really good money when it's set up correctly. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this introduction, and I hope you're looking forward to my walkthroughs on these next campaigns, because I am going to go into full depth on every single campaign type. I'll show you exactly how to set it up, what settings you need, what targeting you need, and how you can create a campaign to run effectively and a full account structure that's really going to let you scale massively, profitably in Google Ads. And that is my goal for you. So I hope you enjoyed this first part of the course, and I look forward to seeing you in the search campaign module. By the way, if you want me to implement my entire 8-figure Google Ads system for your e-commerce brand, SaaS company, service-based business, whatever you are, as long as you run Google Ads, just click the first link below to book a call with my team. I'm back with the next part of the Google Ads course, and it is search campaigns. Now, as I mentioned in the overview video, search campaigns are the most fundamental campaign type in Google. However, they probably don't get as much appreciation as they deserve in e-commerce accounts, e-commerce brand accounts. So what I'm going to do is walk you through search campaigns in a crash course, showing you exactly how to set them up, exactly how to target them whenever you need to do so for both non-branded and branded search campaigns. This is going to give you all the tools you ever need in Google Ads, whether you're running an e-commerce brand account or even a local service business account. Either way, this will be very, very helpful for you and will show you exactly what you need whenever you need to set up a search campaign. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First of all, to create a new campaign, you need to go to the home dashboard page, select campaigns, right? I don't know why there's 3 different campaign tabs, but this is where you need to go. And then click the blue button here and create a new campaign. That is the very first step. When you do so, it'll bring you to this window here where you're asked to choose your campaign objective. Now, in 99% of e-commerce store cases, your objective is sales. So select the sales objective here, and then you'll be prompted to use specific conversion goals for your sales. In this case, you just want to have your purchase conversion set up here. Now, conversion tracking, on a side note, incredibly important for everything in Google Ads, everything campaign setup. Make sure your conversion tracking is perfect and working absolutely correctly. If it is not, you will be feeding poor quality data to Google and you will not be seeing the results that you want. So make sure that you have your conversion tracking set up all correctly and you are just using purchases as the account goal here, because purchases are the goal, not add to cart, not begin checkout. We want purchases. So make sure to keep that in there. All right, and then you'll be selecting a campaign type. Obviously, today we're going with search in this tutorial. And then you are asked the ways you'd like to reach your goal. Don't select anything here. This is not useful. I found that every time I click it, it just creates unnecessary complexity and doesn't actually help at all. So just leave that blank. Then finally, you get to set a name for the campaign. Now, when I'm choosing my campaign names, I like to go with a very structured and consistent naming nomenclature, right? So whenever you create a new name, make sure it is consistent with the other ones. So it's very easy to review the account, guide through a client, just deal with attribution. Like there's a million reasons why it's so much easier with a good naming structure. So in this case, I've gone for campaign type search, followed by geo-targeting, which is USA, followed by the targeting of the campaign itself, which is going to be branded targeting, right? Or branded focus on the campaign. So campaign type, geo-targeting, campaign focus. That's a good way to do it. And if you do that consistently, it'll make your life a lot easier. All right, bidding is the next page after you click the next button. And now this is a more complex issue. Bidding is a fairly complex topic, which I could honestly create an entire video on. So I'm going to keep this really straightforward and easy for you guys so you don't get too confused about it. If you're a beginner, stick with maximize clicks. That's all you need. And it will get you, the goal of maximize clicks is to get you as many clicks as possible at the cheapest cost possible. Sometimes it's not as efficient as other methods, but it usually does a job pretty well, especially if you're brand new to the account. It's going to get you those results you need before you can transition over to maximize conversion value or maximize conversion bidding. Now, this is because we like to start with a click-focused bidding strategy, because with that kind of strategy, Google will easily be able to achieve more clicks. The problem with starting with a conversion-based bidding strategy, because you may see, look, I'd like to focus on conversions. I'd like more conversions, right? That sounds great in theory. But the issue is, if you have an account with no conversions in it, Google is going to really struggle to get you more conversions. It's like telling an archer to hit a target while blindfolded, right? They don't even know what they're trying to hit. There's no way they're ever going to be able to do it. Whereas Google Ads, very similarly, if you tell it to get a conversion and it's never seen a conversion in the account, it's really going to struggle to do that. So for that reason, we need to stick with click-focused bidding until we have some conversions in the account, at which point then we can start to introduce that conversion-based bidding, such as maximize conversion value or maximize conversions, and then continue on from there. So for now, maximize clicks. And then once you have 10 to 15 conversions, you can consider shifting over. For customer acquisition, I'd leave that unticked, especially in a branded campaign. We don't want new customers in branded campaigns. We're happy to get returning customers. So just leave that unchecked. It's usually not very useful and doesn't really work terribly well from my experience. So leave that and then continue on. All right, campaign settings. Now, this is where a lot of people go wrong and make major mistakes. And this is where you can very, very easily get a major leg up on other competitors and improve your results by a significant margin with just literally a few clicks. First of all, the Google Search Partners Network. Now, this is basically all related Google networks and also related Google sites where people can search. And the issue with this is, although it gives you a larger reach, it typically has lower quality traffic. So it's usually going to result in low quality leads coming through, low quality, customers coming through the website, and a distinct lack of conversions and higher cost per conversion, which is not what we want. So leave that unchecked. Always stick with just Google unless you've absolutely capped out everything you can do with Google, then consider moving on to search partners. But that's very, very rare scenario. Google Display Network. Now, display campaigns certainly have their time and place, but if you're starting up a search campaign, I imagine that it's so you can display on the Google Search Network, right? If you want to display on the Google Display Network, create a display campaign, never tick this, always keep it unticked as well. These two by default are checked, so make sure that you purposefully uncheck them, and that will absolutely help your results in the campaign. Next up, we have locations. This is another one with a very tricky setting that can easily throw you off if you're not careful. First of all, enter your location that you would like to target. In this case, we're working with the United States, but you can go more narrow down to states, cities, postcodes. You can go very, very narrow, and you can also exclude specific regions if you want to make sure that they are not in there. Now, location options. This is a drop-down menu that you have to click. When you click it there, you'll see you can either go with presence or interest or just presence. Now, what we want to go with is always presence. The reason for that is presence or interest indicates that anyone who is interested in your targeted country may be targeted by the ads. For example, if you're targeting the US and you have a Filipino person who's looking to come to the US and they're searching on Google for the USA, they could potentially be targeted by your ads, despite the fact that they're not in the US. And we absolutely don't want that. We want to be very, very clear with our targeting, and we want to make sure everything is as narrow as possible before expanding out with our targeting, right? So always start with presence. That is absolutely the best way to go 99% of the time. Languages, typically I'll just find myself going with English, but if you have any other languages in your campaign, feel free to put them in there, or get rid of English, whatever it may be. Very straightforward. Audience segments, you don't really need them in the vast majority of search campaigns you're setting up unless you have a very specific demographic you're looking to target. But for the most part, I wouldn't recommend it for most brands. Broad match keywords, you can keep that off. That is not necessary for us. All right, and then we hit next. You'll be brought to a screen that offers you keyword and asset generation. Now, we do not want to use this tool. What this tool does is it's Google trying to give you AI-created keywords and headlines, which sounds great and sounds really efficient. But the issue is Google doesn't know your brand as well as you do. And Google also wants to make more money from you. So you have to always keep in mind that Google will be trying to generate as much money as they can, not necessarily as much money as they can for you. So be careful of any kind of automated creations or automated changes because they may not always be in your favor. So don't do this, just skip on here. Now we reach a fork in the road. We can either go and check out our branded campaigns or non-branded campaigns for setup. We will start with branded. So this is our section for keywords and ads. As you can see here, I've named the ad group branded keywords, and I've entered into here our relevant keywords that we're going to be using in this ad group. Now, you can see that all of these keywords are enclosed by square brackets. If we look down here at this key, we can see that square brackets means exact match. What does exact match mean? It means that Google will try to very tightly match your keyword to search terms. Now, if we had, for example, broad match on, Google will be very loose in its matching and targeting, and it may attack other terms. So as an example, we have here Peter's pants, right? In exact match. What that means is that it's only going to target very, very close search terms to that, or very close variants, right? So ideally nothing outside of the very close range of your brand and nothing similar. So what we've put in is just Peter's Pans, a direct brand name with a misspelling, brand name without a space, and then Peter's Frying Pans as well, just because that's, again, probably someone who's interested in our brand. So we now have 4 keywords here that make up our brand pretty well and will probably gather the majority of the traffic for our brand. You don't need to go super overboard with keywords here. Just put in the number of keywords that you think you need to effectively target all traffic coming in for your brand specifically. Now, next up, we can see that I've just thrown in the URL as the standard URL. I don't know if this website exists or not, it may, but I've just thrown in a pretend URL for this website, for this brand. And for the headlines, I've thrown in a couple of placeholder headlines. Now, I don't have time in this video to go into a full masterclass on ad copy, but I will give you a few quick pointers to send you along the way. Now, if we're running a branded campaign, we almost always want to have the brand name in our ad copy, just so when our ads do show up, people are absolutely certain that they're seeing our brand and they'll just click straight through. If you don't have the brand name in it and you just have like more vague copy with offers, sometimes they may not realize immediately that it's actually your brand. So always keep the brand name in a branded campaign, ad group, ad heading. There you go. And always usually pin this one as number 1. So it always remains number 1. That way your brand name is always there when people are looking for you. Now, another example of a headline is ultimate quality and reliability, right? That's like a trust factor, kind of social proof kind of thing. Very helpful for increasing click-through rates and conversions. And then something like 30% off BCFM sale, right? That's like a call to action and a specific offer that's going to get people to actually encourage to click, right? Next up, we have the business name and business logo. Now, these are 2 aspects of the ad which I find are very often overlooked and underappreciated. Now, what they require to set these up, they require you to complete advertiser verification, which is a little bit of a pain and a little bit annoying, but it's absolutely worth your time, because having a business name and a business logo, especially in a branded campaign, show up on your ad are going to increase the trust significantly. And even in non-branded campaigns, when you're showing up against competitors and you have a brand name and a brand logo, you're going to look a lot more professional. So getting these 2 in as quickly as you can, completing that advertiser verification and right up on there, absolutely worth your time and absolutely worthwhile. Then finally, complete all the other assets that are existing in the ad creation screen. Now, number of headlines, honestly, you don't need to do all 15. Just go 3 to 5 so you can effectively test between them. You can start split testing headlines. If you have 15 headlines, it's impossible to split test because you just have too many combinations and too many headlines to test with. So start with maybe 3 to 5. Feel free to pin headlines. Google will tell you not to pin stuff, but don't listen to them. Google doesn't know what they're talking about. Feel free to pin if you think it's going to be more effective. Always keep in mind that you will get, throughout this whole process, you'll be getting suggestions from Google. Ultimately, you know your brand better than Google does, and you know your customers better than Google does. So you can create ad copy that's going to be more effective and more compelling to those customers than Google can with an AI. So keep that in mind at all times. Now, your other assets are going to be stuff like descriptions, site links, call outs, extensions, whatever it may be. Fill everything out that's relevant to you, and it will absolutely increase your ad real estate. So it's going to increase the size of your ad in the listing. Will also increase your trust, increase your click-through rate. It's going to be very helpful for you. Next up, we have budget. Now, when it comes to a branded campaign, you typically don't need a whole lot of budget to capture all your branded traffic coming through. For most brands, it's probably $10 to $20 a day. For smaller brands, for larger brands, maybe up to $50 a day. It's pretty rare to see brands go beyond $50 a day US. So typically keep it around that 10 to 20 range. And keep in mind as well that Google will not spend your full budget if there's not enough traffic for it. So if you set a budget of $20, it may only spend $5 or $10 if you're a small brand, because you just don't have much branded traffic coming in, many branded searches coming in, which is completely fine. All right, let's move over to non-branded search campaigns. So first of all, we have keywords and ads. Once again, the ad group this time has been named after the category we're going to chase. Now, when it comes to search campaigns for e-commerce brands, typically I'd recommend using the search campaigns for more category or collection pages, right? So in this case, if someone searches for example, they search for frying pans, right? And you have a collection on your site that's designed specifically for frying pans. Let's say non-stick pans, right? Non-stick pans, someone searches for that. They're typically searching for a range of pans, right? They want to compare pans. They don't necessarily know exactly which one they want. So you need to show them a collection page. That's going to be the most relevant page you can give them for their search and their intent. If they were to search non-stick pans and we showed them a search ad for a very specific type of pan, it's unlikely they'd want to click in comparison to a more collection, general, broad. And then we're going to have those shopping ads running as well, which are going to be a lot more useful for our sniper approach to specific products, right? So when someone searches for a specific product, like a Peter's Pans red, large 30 centimeter diameter non-stick pan, we're going to have the exact product showing up at that time. Whereas if someone's searching for a more general category, broad search, that's when we show the search campaigns. Now, they're not a huge priority in e-commerce accounts, I will be honest. I don't use them that frequently. It's only if there's a specific category that's very popular and it's worth testing a search campaign because it could potentially turn a positive ROI or profitable ROI. So I will walk through this one fairly quickly for you guys, but it could be something that's helpful for you, so keep it in mind. So for keywords, this time we're going with phrase match. Now, phrase match is a little bit more loose than exact match. So if you had non-stick frying pans and exact match, you'd probably only be getting results for non-stick frying pans, non-stick pans, pans that won't stick. Whereas if you have it in phrase match, you may start getting results for best pan that won't stick to my food, right? So something that's sort of a fair bit looser than the exact term that you put in, but it's still relevant and still related. They can get quite broad sometimes in phrase, so you do have to be careful with it, and you do have to use negative keywords to make sure that you're getting rid of the irrelevant traffic, but I'll touch on that slightly in a moment. So you only need really, in a campaign like this, ad group like this that's relevant to a very general category, probably 3, 5, absolutely maximum 10 keywords in here, especially if they're phrase match. Realistically, these 3 phrase match keywords could probably capture all of the necessary traffic you're looking for. So just don't go too crazy with the keywords. Keep it around the 3 to 5 range. That's probably enough for a campaign like this, an ad group like this. Now, one other thing to keep in mind that I didn't speak on too thoroughly is if you're running this kind of structure for your ad groups and campaigns, which it has a specific category, right? A category of collection. Make sure to always separate your collections. Don't ever put the 2 collections in one ad group because Google's going to get confused and it's not going to be able to show the best quality ads to your user. Imagine you have both non-stick pans and then also, pots, right? Or you have also crock pots, for example, right? If someone searches for a crock pot, they could still get an ad for a non-stick pan, which is absolutely not what you want. It's irrelevant and they're not going to be happy with the ad, right? Now, I briefly mentioned negative keywords. Negative keywords you will find, I'll quickly show you, if you go back up here and you go into ad groups and then you click into the ad group, it'll take you to the keywords, which you can also find a keywords tab a little bit further down the left here. And you head into one of these tabs that looks similar to this. You'll have an option for negative keywords. Now, what negative keywords do is they allow you to put in specific keywords that you don't want searches to match to. So let's say, for example, in this case, something that's very important in non-branded campaigns is you want to exclude all branded terms. So you don't want people who are looking for your brand coming through a non-brand campaign because that's, again, it's going to ruin your attribution, inflate your metrics, and just do bad things, right? So in every non-branded campaign you run, you want negative keywords for your brand so nobody's searching for your brand is going to come through. Because imagine if someone were to search Peter's Pans, non-stick frying pans. They could end up in this ad group if you don't put in negative keywords for the brand name. So what we do is we'd have a negative keywords section, and then in there, in those negative keywords, we just add Peter's Pans, all the exact same keywords that you have over here, but you just put these in a negative keyword list. That prevents people with those search intent from coming through to these ad groups that are non-branded, right? And that is the surefire way to keep that traffic out of your non-branded campaigns and keep it in your branded campaigns. So that is the rundown on negative keywords. And when we head down to ad copy, once again, a few quick pointers, sending them direct to the website. If you have a collection though, you'd want to be sending them to collection page. So in our case, it could be peterspans.com/nonstickpans. Again, the more relevant you can make the customer journey, the better. So when they get an ad for a nonstick pan and then they get taken through to the nonstick pan collection page, it's just going to be a very seamless journey and it's going to really encourage a purchase. Now, beyond that, we have our headlines. In this case, we've changed it, right? So this is now a general ad, a broader ad. It's not related specifically to our brand. So people don't really need to know our brand name in our ad title. You can put it in there, but it's not 100% necessary. Something that may be more useful to them is something like huge range of nonstick pans. As we've already discussed, these people who are searching for frying pans, general terms, they're probably looking for a range to view from, right? So we want to tell them, hey, look, we have a huge range for you to choose from. And then once again, that's sort of a guarantee here, 100% guaranteed not to stick. That's a good one. That's like a, trust and guarantee factor to encourage a sale. And then finally, we have the 30% off BCFM sale. So again, like a call to action offer to try and just get them over the line there. All right. And then site links, these are very helpful. These can take people to specific pages that may not be immediately relevant to the ad, but are still relevant to the brand. So these might be pages to your best-selling fry pan, a blog page that tells you why non-stick is the best option, and then several other pages on your site that are relevant, but not directly immediately relevant to the ad. So this allows people to click through to something else if they're interested. And then finally, more asset types. We have promotions, prices. Those can both be very useful to increase trust, increase click-through rate, and increase conversion rate. I'd recommend testing them on your ads. They're not 100% necessary, but they can be helpful for you. Calls and messages, not relevant for e-commerce brands. Call outs and structured snippets. Again, these are just good ways to increase trust and also to build out your digital real estate. Now, I used that term before. Basically, what it means is when your ad shows up on the search page, you have a certain size of that ad, right? The more of these extensions you give your ad, the bigger it can potentially get on the search results. And the bigger the ad is, the higher the chance of click. So in my opinion, it's always worthwhile filling these out, but make sure you fill them out with some quality content and quality copy. Don't just rush them through. All you have to do is really create them once and then you can use them in almost every campaign. So take some time, make them high quality, and it will improve your results in the future. And then finally, we'd have the budget. Now, like I said, these kind of category search campaigns are pretty rare in e-commerce accounts. They're not 100% necessary, and you only really want to be using them if you have, like I said, a really popular category that gets a lot of traffic and a lot of users who are very likely to buy. So in our case, it may be non-stick pans, right? And only if the data shows that you need a campaign like this should you integrate it. At which point, if you bring it in, could probably start a budget around $20 to $30 a day just to test with it. Again, it depends on our AOV, how much your average order value is. A higher AOV will require a higher budget to get more purchases, obviously. And then, it depends on what your overall account budget is, all these kind of factors. But usually start around this range and then scale up if the data tells you need to scale. And on that scaling note as well, in branded, if you find that you are fully saturating your budget, fully spending your budget every day on branded, and you're checking your search terms, which you can find under insights and reports, you'll find search terms. The search terms will tell you what people are actually searching for and what your campaign is showing for. Now, if your search terms are aligned and you're spending your full budget, you can increase that budget for sure until you're capturing all the traffic. Usually with branded, I like to try and capture as much traffic as possible, as long as you're not going completely overboard with spend, because they are really cheap conversions. And like I said, they give you an enormous amount of data to work with. So that is the rundown on how to set up search campaigns for your e-commerce brand. And if you follow the instructions exactly, I am confident that you will be able to run a high efficiency campaign, making you good revenue and good profit. So if you would like to ask me any questions, please feel free. Otherwise, I will see you in the very next module, which is going to be shopping campaigns. Hey guys, and welcome back to the next module of the course. Today, I'm going to be walking through exactly how to set up a shopping campaign for your brand and how to set up the shopping campaigns you need, how to separate them, and how to target correctly. Now, shopping campaigns are going to be the foundation of your e-commerce brand account if you have one. So this is where you're going to get most of your sales coming through. Shopping listings, right? As I described in the overview, these are listings which appear at the top of Google search as a whole product with an image, a price, shipping. If you were to go on Google right now and search for frying pan, for example, you would see a list of products up the top that are all showing and all giving you great options to choose from very quickly to make a purchase. Now, I'm sure if you're a regular shopper, if you've ever bought anything online, you've probably clicked one of these ads before and you know just how well they work, right? So getting this set up correctly is going to be a massive driver for your e-commerce growth and a massive driver for your Google Ads results. So without further ado, let's get right into it and I'll show you exactly how to set them up. So first things first, you need to link your Shopify store to your Google Merchant Center and Google Ads account. Now, the way that you do this is through the Shopify dashboard. Now, I'm going to assume that you're using Shopify because 90% of stores are. If you're using a different platform, there are other linking solutions, which I won't go through today, but you're very easily able to search for, GMC, WordPress link or anything. There are lots of tools you can use to link your merchant center to your whatever platform you may be using to sell your products. I'm just using Shopify as an example here because it's the most common store that I find and probably going to help out most of you. So where do we start? In Shopify, on the dashboard here, you want to go down to sales channels, click that, and within your sales channels, look for Google and YouTube. This is what you're going to need to use as your first step to integrate your products and as the easiest way to do it. So we go into here, and once you go onto the Google and YouTube tab, you'll be given an option to link your Google Ads account, link your Google account in your Merchant Center to your Shopify, and that's exactly what you want to do. If you don't already have a Merchant Center account set up, set one up quickly, and then you'll be able to link your Merchant Center directly to your Shopify account. And then once you do so through a simple login on this tab here, you'll be sent to the Google Merchant Center page. Now, if you're not sent there, go to merchants.google.com and you'll be able to access Google Merchant Center. Now, what is Google Merchant Center? Google Merchant Center is essentially the interface between Google Ads and your products. So it's where Google likes to list all of the products for your store, and it's where you can show everything to then be sent over to Google Ads and shown as a Google ad, right? As a product ad, a shopping ad, whatever it may be. So what you need to do on here is once you have linked your Shopify and your Google Merchant Center accounts, sometimes it can take, a couple of hours. But once they're linked together and all the products have been imported, make sure that you choose to link your Merchant Center and link your products on that Shopify tab. You'll get all of your products being ported over to the Merchant Center platform. And once you do so, you'll see on the products page here, you'll see that you have a list of products. In this case, we have 131 on this store. And what you do is you go into this products tab, you'll see the products list here, and then you'll have a list of all your products just down below this here. Now, I've cropped them out for privacy reasons of this client, but very simple. You just click on one of the products that you choose. And once you click that product, you'll have an option to edit the product. Now, again, I'm not going to show you the entire list because you should be able to see it on the screen here. And it's just a bunch of input fields of things that you can edit for the product, right? Now, here is where I'm going to give you some tips on how to make sure that your product is well optimized without going too deep into it. Because again, I want to try and make this as beginner friendly as possible. So just follow these guides for setting up your products. Don't agonize over it in the beginning. It is definitely helpful to have optimized products, but that is a different story and something which is going to take a lot more time. So we're just going to focus for now on the basics to make sure that you get it set up right and you can start making money as quickly as possible with Google Ads. So what you want to do essentially is fill out as many fields as you can with high quality information. So you're going to see options for a title, a description, product type, product category, price, sale price, everything on there, right? Now, fill it all out. Fill absolutely everything out that you can, especially stuff like GTIN. If you have a GTIN, put it in. If you don't, again, don't worry. Just fill out everything that you can, right? Now, with your titles, make sure your titles are informative and your titles give the entire product name along with your brand name and maybe, the very important traits of it. Just make sure that your product title contains keywords that tell Google what people are looking for, right? So if you are selling a frying pan, you might have in the title, black non-stick frying pan, 38 centimeter diameter, Peter's Pans, right? Because that's our brand name in this hypothetical scenario. So you've contained all of the really highly necessary details in the title, along with your brand name at the end, just to make sure it's clear where it's coming from. Now, you'll also see that there's a product description, and this description has a lot of character space. Now, it's great to be able to really take advantage of all the characters in there, but it's going to take you a long time to write that individually for every single product. So a good tip here is to potentially use ChatGPT or something like it to create rich product descriptions by using high quality prompts. Now, you don't need to write your description manually by hand, because honestly, all it is it's just a way for Google to gather keywords, right? So to give Google an idea of what your product is, so it can easily target it to the right people. So in this case, you might go on to ChatGPT and you might say, hey, can you write me a 2,000 character product description for my product, which is a non-stick frying pan, black, 38 centimeter diameter. I want you to include all of the necessary keywords that might prompt a user to search on Google and show a Google product ad, Google shopping ad, right? Just make sure you use highly detailed ChatGPT prompts to make sure that it will give you quality detailed descriptions. Because again, this isn't something you have to write by hand, but it is something that if you get the right keywords in there, will definitely help you and benefit you. Now, like I said before, don't agonize over this. Whip it up quickly, make sure it includes the important stuff, and make sure it doesn't include any incorrect information. Because if you have incorrect information in your product description, what's going to happen is Google is going to show your product to the wrong searches. So if you had, for example, a non-stick black 38 centimeter diameter pan, but in the description you included a term such as aluminum pan, right? And it's not made of aluminum, for example. If you include the term aluminum pan in there, what it's going to do is Google's now going to show your ad to people who are searching for an aluminum pan, or maybe a stainless steel pan, right? Maybe, whatever it may be, but it's not the product that you're selling. So you want to make sure that always your titles and your descriptions only contain keywords of the products that you want to be showing for and the searches that you want to be showing for. Now, finally, if you have a really large product catalog, which a lot of stores do, you probably don't have time to sit there and manually fill out every single field, because it's going to take you a very long time. So what you can do is use tools like SimProcess. This is a great plugin on Shopify that allows you to do feed management in a slightly more meaningful way than the automatic integration between Google and Shopify. So if you have a large catalog, please look into SimProcess. I think it may have a lot of value for you, and you will likely be able to increase your efficiency of setting up your product catalog. But if you only have a few products, that's great. That makes everything a lot easier for you. You only have to write out a few products, set a few up, and then you're ready to go. So those are my main tips for setting this up. Once again, we're keeping it simple. We don't want to overcomplicate things here at this stage. But I will be sure to give you guys a guide in the future on optimizing your GMC products and really making sure that you have them locked in to the highest extent possible, and so you can profit as much as possible. Anyway, on to the next stage. After you've changed all the details on your products, hit save. Don't forget to hit save, otherwise you'll lose all your hard work. Next up, just to make sure that you are connected. So we've just gone through the connection of Shopify and GMC, but we also want to make sure our GMC, the Google Merchant Center, is connected to our Google Ads. To do so, just go ahead to Tools on the left of your dashboard, Data Manager, Connected Products, and you should see Google Merchant Center linked in here. If it's not already linked, go Connect Product and follow the prompts to link your Google Merchant Center to your Google Ads account, and then you will make sure that all your products are available to advertise in your shopping ads. Cool. Now, next stage. First thing, to create a shopping campaign. All right, we're all set up. Products are integrated. Products are somewhat optimized. All the listings are ready, and it's time to run our shopping ads. So what do? We head into the campaigns tab over here. Campaigns. Once again, plus button, create a new campaign. And what are you going to see when you do that? Once again, what is your campaign objective? Now, again, in 99% of cases for e-commerce brands, your objective is sales. So let's click that. Make sure that your conversion goals are only purchases. We don't want to add to cart. We don't want to begin checkout. While yes, they're good things to, they're good things to have in the account, we don't want to be targeting add to carts or begin checkouts in here, because otherwise Google will start to take the easy route and it'll just get add to carts. It won't get any purchases. So make sure that your primary goal always in your campaigns is for purchases. Select a campaign type. In this case, we are going for shopping as described. Now, after this, you'll have to select a Merchant Center account to advertise from. Now, if you've gone through all the linking steps and it's all set up correctly, you'll just be able to click in here and select your account. I've blanked this out for privacy reasons, but as you can see, I've just selected a Merchant Center account here. All you have to do is click it and you're good to go. If you have, for some reason, multiple feeds going into your Merchant Center account, maybe you already have an account set up, you already are running ads, make sure to select the right feed. But for most of you, you won't have to worry about this. Standard shop. Now, automatically, when you get to this point, it will select Performance Max campaign. That'll be automatic selection. If you watch the overview, you'll know that Performance Max is a good campaign type, but it's not always great to use from the outset at the beginning as a beginner, or when you have no data in the account. If you don't have any data in your Google Ads account, you are probably going to lose money by running Pmax. So we're just going to keep away from Pmax for the moment, and we're going to just go with standard shopping campaign. Again, that's what we're trying to set up here, a standard shopping campaign. There will be further guides on setting up Pmax campaigns down the line, and I'll show you exactly how to do that when we get there. Once you've done that, hit continue. All right, next up, you can see general settings, type shopping. This is just a summary, you can't add anything there. Campaign type. Now, again, we're going to want to name the campaign in a consistent way to make sure it's very clear what we're targeting and what bidding strategy and what campaign it is. So we're calling it a shopping campaign, targeting the USA, containing our bestseller products, and using max clicks as the bidding strategy. Now, the reason I've called it bestsellers is because in a lot of cases, the first shopping campaign you want to set up in your account, if you've never run anything before, the first thing you should usually set up is a bestseller campaign, right? If you have a store with 200 products and you throw them all in one campaign to get started in Google Ads, yes, you'll have a lot of variety and range, but the issue is, unless you have an enormous budget, Google is not going to be able to effectively test all of your products. So, and it's probably going to latch on to a couple of low quality products and push them at sort of a mediocre ROAS. And that's not what we want. What we want to be doing is showing our highest quality products first, pushing them, getting some sales into the account, getting some data in the account, and then starting prospecting after. So I always recommend starting with your best sellers, 5 to 10 bestseller products, usually even under 10, just to make sure that we're really maximizing our potential from the get-go. So those bestsellers you may know from other platforms such as Meta or organic or anything, whatever gets the most sales in your store. Even if you haven't got any sales yet, just do some more product research, identify probably 5 of your predicted bestsellers and throw them in a campaign. Just don't throw in too many products at once because they're just not going to get enough attention and it's going to be really scrambled. Once you've set up the campaign name, bidding and budget. Now, bidding strategy, as always, if you have no data in the account, start with maximize clicks. If you don't have any conversion data, you're going to get really poor performance if you select maximize conversions in a lot of cases. So we're going to maximize clicks. And then if you do have data in the account, if you have, let's say, 15 plus conversions, you can try maximize conversion value, right? If you have 30 plus per month, definitely be using maximize conversion value, even with a target ROAS potentially. I'll come to bidding adjustments at the end, but for now, you're probably going to want to start with maximize clicks. Now, we can also set a maximum cost per click bid limit. This is something I consider down the line. Once you identify an average CPC that your ads are getting, once you figure out something that's pretty standard among your ads, so you're getting maybe and you can see your CPC in your performance columns, you might see you're getting a $75 or $1.20 cost per click on average, right? You might want to set a maximum cost per click bid limit to make sure that you're not bidding ridiculously over your average CPC. So if you're getting bids for $5, but your average CPC is $1.20, that's probably going to inflate your bids quite a lot, and you just want to try and nip out any of those really, really high ones. So that's something you can potentially do down the line. For budget, in a shopping campaign, this is, again, going to be your main scaling mechanism, a shopping campaign, and your main new customer acquisition mechanism. So this is where you probably want to be putting most of your budget. Now, again, I don't know what kind of budget your company is working with, but typically I'd recommend to allocate the probably 50% plus of the budget here, right? So if that for you represents $50 a day, $100 a day, whatever it may be, but keep in mind, the higher the AOV of your products, the more it's going to cost you to get a conversion. If you're selling something for $1,000, it may cost you $200 to get a conversion. And if you're only spending $50 a day, that's only one conversion every 4 days, if you're getting good performance. Whereas if you're selling something for $10, $50 a day could get you 20 purchases, right? 10 purchases, however many, right? But keep in mind that the higher AOV will require a higher budget to drive results. And also, it's going to take you longer to optimize your campaign. It's going to take Google longer to optimize your campaign if you have a low budget in relation to your AOV. So always keep that relationship in mind and make sure that you have the budget to allocate before pushing into these campaign types. Campaign priority, for now, we can leave it low if you only have one shopping campaign running in the account. But in the future, keep in mind that if you have a Pmax remarketing campaign, which we'll move to shortly, you'll want to have this as high priority to make sure that you're giving this shopping campaign priority for new customer bids. But we'll just keep that in mind for later on. Now, targeting. Search network, we don't want that. We don't like to use that unless you've already fully saturated the Google network, then maybe consider search, but untick that. That will be automatically checked. You need to uncheck that. Devices, go all devices in the majority of scenarios. Locations, as we saw in the beginning of this campaign, we're going to be targeting the US. So we go enter another location, United States, and include, make sure you hit location options and make sure you select presence. We don't want presence or interest, that's bad. We just want presence, right? If you didn't see the search campaign video, you'll know the reason that we go with presence instead of presence or interest is because presence means you're actually targeting people in your targeted location. Presence or interest means you're targeting people outside of your location that are interested in location. Not helpful if you're targeting the USA and it's going to show your ad to someone who lives in Australia and wants to fly to the US and is looking up US details, right? So make sure it's always hit to presence. Start and end dates. If you have specific start and end dates for your campaign, you can set those here. Typically, I just leave them as the dates that we're creating the campaign. Ad group name is going to be the name of your ad group. In the case of this campaign, as I said, we're just running bestsellers. So we're just going to have a single bestseller ad group in this campaign. So that's why I've called it bestsellers. All right, then we go create campaign. Bang, you've got the campaign set up and almost ready to roll. But there is another very important step here. Once you have the campaign set up, you will want to be going into campaigns, ad groups, and then make sure up here you've selected your campaign and your ad group bestsellers and your new campaign Shopping USA bestsellers max clicks. Once those are selected, you want to be going into product groups here. Now, product groups, this tab is going to allow you to select the products that are showing in the ad group. Now, as we said earlier, in this ad group and in this campaign, we only want to be showing our bestseller products. So we don't want to have all the products showing in here. As you can see right now, all products are enabled, which means we're going to have all products showing in this campaign. We don't want that, right? So what we do is we click the plus here, add subdivision, and then it will take you to this screen. Now, I'm sorry, I have a lot of data blocked out here. It's just, again, for client privacy, but you can see all the important details that are required for this explanation. So what you want to do is usually, now it depends, if you have your products in different categories, you can subdivide by categories and that may be able to help you. But in a lot of cases, people don't have their products subdivided by categories in Google as effectively as they should. So the best way to do it most of the time is go subdivide by item ID. And when you select by item ID, you'll see that these parts that I've blocked out here actually have the full product name. So basically all you need to do is go subdivide by item ID. And then remember, we want to select our best sellers here. So search for the name of your bestseller, select it, boom. Search the name of the next one, select it, search the name of the next one, select it, and make sure you just select all the best sellers you want to be advertising. So in this example, let's say I've selected these 4 products that are my big best sellers that we want to promote in this ad group and in this campaign. So what we do is we select them, they'll show up on here as selected products, and then we go continue to edit bids. Hit that, and then what you will see is you'll see one more screen that says something about max clicks bidding. Just go save, don't change anything in there, just hit save on that screen. And then you'll be brought to this screen here where you can see it's now separated your objects, right? So now you can see we have the everything else, and then we have our individual bestsellers right here that are all lined up, right? These are our 4 bestsellers that we selected. They're separated now from the everything else. So what you want to do is you want to disable. So you want to click on you'll see a little green dot. You want to click the green dot and you want to change it to exclude. And this is what exclude looks like, right? Click it and change it to this, right? So now what's happening is we're excluding everything in all products. So everything else is getting excluded. And then these bestsellers we've selected are still enabled. They're still included in the ad group. So we've got just our best sellers in the ad group and campaign. And then we have our all products, everything else in all products being excluded. So 4 products included, all the rest excluded. And then perfect. Now our ad group is running with just those 4 bestseller products that we wanted, 5 bestsellers, 8 bestsellers, however many it may be, keep it under 10 usually. But yeah, we have just those bestsellers running in our campaign. So that's great. Now we know we're just going to be promoting our highest quality products and hopefully getting our highest quality traffic. After that, there is one more step that you will want to take into account, as this is the guide for setting up a non-branded shopping campaign, right? So this is a shopping campaign where we're aiming to acquire new customers, find people who don't know about us, and for that reason, we don't want to include our branded terms in this campaign. So what we do is we go into campaigns, and then we go into this audiences, keywords, and content, select search keywords, and make sure you select the shopping campaign up here. And once we've selected all of these, you'll get an option to enter negative search keywords, right? Now, if you watched the search campaign video, which I ran previously, you'll see that in the negative keywords, you want to be entering branded terms. So what we do in this negative search keywords, we click plus, and then we get to add our negative keywords. And I'll show you exactly what we want those negative keywords to look like. Let's just run back to the search campaign over here. Now you can see. Now we're going to once again imagine that our brand name is Peter's Pans and we're selling frying pans, right? You can see in here, these would be our negative keywords. Peter's Pans, Peter's Pans, Peter's Pans, Peter's frying pans, right? These are all variations of the brand name just to try and cover all the potential keywords that may be relevant for a brand name, and make sure to include them as exact match, right? With these square brackets around them. This is going to allow you to specifically exclude these products without excluding too much else. Now, if we go back over here, we can see that if we enter these as negative keywords, what's going to happen is it's going to prevent the campaign from targeting our branded terms. Now, like I told you, this is a non-branded campaign type. We don't want to be targeting branded terms. So that's why we keep our targeting to just non-branded. And then we have the negative keywords to filter out any branded terms and prevent us from getting those. Now, if you are confused about the branded versus non-branded distinction and separation, please watch the overview video that I created at the beginning of this campaign, the overview module. You'll see in the overview, I explain exactly why we need to separate branded and non-branded traffic, and it will help you understand why we're doing this. So make sure, again, add negative keywords for your brand name so your brand isn't being searched in this campaign. All right, next up. These are some recommended next steps after you've set up the campaign, right? So now your campaign is all ready to go. You're ready to run. You're ready to start making money with shopping ads. But as you continue on, there'll be some good next steps to take, right? Now, this is just, again, a major setup course here. So I'm going to show you exactly how to set everything up. But I still want to give you guys a bit of guidance for the near future to make sure that you can keep your campaign running efficiently. And I'll show you exactly what you need to be doing. So the next steps are excluding your low performing products from the best sellers campaign. So if you find that after your best sellers campaign starts running and some products aren't really doing that well, they've had a good ad spend allocated to them, they have a good number of clicks gone to them, they're just not really performing as well as you need them to, exclude them, right? Remember, this best sellers campaign is only for best selling products. You only want to be showing your best products in that. So feel free to get rid of any low performance if they're pulling down your ROAS and they're just not performing at the level you expect them to be. Now, also, as I mentioned earlier, you'll want to create another shopping campaign with the exact same process, except this one's going to be targeting all products. So this one, you won't be doing your product exclusion here. You'll just leave all products green, right? So at this point, you'll just leave it at this point and you won't do the subdivision, right? This is going to be an all products campaign. And what you aim to do in this all products campaign is, after getting some initial sales and traffic to your best sellers, right? So once you have some sales flowing into your best sellers campaign, best sellers are doing nicely, it's got a consistent ROAS, it's pulling in consistent sales, then you want to start an all products campaign to try and identify some more potential best sellers and prospect for some more potentially high performing products, right? This can be a shopping campaign. This can also potentially be a Pmax campaign, but we're just going to be working with shopping for now. Keep in mind that you can create this all product campaign if you're saturating the best sellers. Once again, this is only when you're already getting results with best sellers. Now, another important thing is, once you're getting results with best sellers, like I'm saying at this point, you want to shift to the maximize conversions bidding strategy. Now, I mentioned this earlier in the bidding area. You can do this in the campaign settings. You will want to be switching over to maximize conversion value. My apologies. switch it there. Maximize conversion value after you've got some conversions flowing in. So on here, bang. So, I typically recommend probably 15 plus conversions, maybe 20 plus. But once you've reached a good amount of data in the account, then you want to consider switching to maximize conversion value. And then Google's got to really try and push to get more conversions in the account. Now, also, you will probably want to shift over to maximize conversion value with a target ROAS once you are getting consistent conversions in the campaigns. So if you're getting, I'd say probably 30 plus conversions per month, and at least 30 plus per month, and you're getting a consistent TROAS, so getting consistent ROAS on the campaigns. Let's say your campaign's hovering pretty consistently around a 2.5 return on ad spend, right? And that's profitable for you and that's good. Then you'd want to start introducing a target ROAS level to make sure that Google hangs around that level and continues to get you a continued 2.5 ROAS. So definitely consider that. Once again, you're getting very consistent conversions and you're getting a consistent return on ad spend in your campaign. Then finally, another thing that you'll want to do if you have a lot of branded traffic, if you have a big branded presence online, if you already have presence from Meta ads, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it may be, organic, anything, you'll probably want a branded shopping campaign as well. Now, this branded shopping campaign will have a much lower budget, so it'll only be enough to cover your branded traffic, which should only be $20 a day probably, using similar processes, but also the script below. So follow the setup that I have above. I have the full setup guide for that standard shopping campaign. And the only difference with this new campaign, once again, you're going to want to include all products. You're not going to need to exclude any products, just go to all products. But you'll also need to add this script. Now, as you can see here, if you go into the tools, bulk actions, scripts, and then plus, and then head to this link here. I'll link this down below the video so you guys can find this. Credit to PPC Masterminds for this one. It's a really handy script for getting a branded shopping campaign. So you want to head to this website, follow the instruction on there, copy over the script, and make the necessary modifications, and you'll be able to have a solely branded shopping campaign. Now, again, you only need this if you have a lot of branded traffic coming in. If your branded traffic isn't being fully captured by the search campaign, but even if you just want to have those products showing when someone's searching for your brand, which is absolutely helpful, I do absolutely recommend it. So if you have that branded traffic coming in, get that branded campaign set up too at a lower budget, and that will help you capture all of the traffic possible in shopping campaigns. And that is all for today on shopping campaigns. I hope you found this one useful, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the setup. I think you guys will find this very helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next setup video, which is going to be on remarketing campaigns. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next video of the course, the next module. This module is going to be focused on remarketing campaigns. Now, this is a more minor campaign type in comparison to the previous campaigns that we've been discussing, but it can still have some very significant effects on your account when set up correctly and can produce some really great results. So I would certainly recommend introducing these campaign types when you reach a certain point in the account, when you have conversions coming in, data coming in, and you have a steady stream of new customers arriving. You can start to remarket to those customers, increase your conversion rates, increase your acquisition, and get some more profit coming into the account. So let's get right into the setup process. Before setting up anything remarketing wise, we need to make sure that we have our audience lists and data segments in check. Now, the primary zone for all of these lists is found under Tools, Shared Library, Audience Manager. In here, you can see all the audiences that your Google Ads account is tracking at this current moment. Now, you can see there are a lot of lists in here, some of which are automatically created, some of which come from other sources, and I will explain that in just a moment. But this is where you can see all the lists that are available for your use in audience targeting. So if we now break it down, there are two main ways through which you can acquire this data for your audience lists. So two ways you can tell Google what your audiences look like and how to target them. Your first option is through the direct automatic setup with Google Ads Tag and GA4. Now, these are the easiest way to get data and also the most reliable. or typically quite reliable when it comes to actually setting up campaigns, setting up targeting sources, and just keeping things simple. This is what I'd recommend for the vast majority of people, is just sticking with the automatic setup audiences, unless you need more complex targeting, which is certainly something you can look at down the track. But for the beginning, I'd only recommend going with the easy setup, right? And that is characterized by your Google Ads tag that is placed on the website. So when you set up all of your tagging and all that setup, and when you also link, as described in the previous video, linking your Shopify store with Google Ads will also introduce another audience link in there. And then also having GA4 set up is very, very useful. GA4 is also very straightforward to set up with your Google Ads. Once you have your GA4 tags on the website, it's just a matter of linking GA4 and Google Ads accounts through the data manager, as I also outlined in the previous video on shopping campaigns. So basically, just focus for now on getting your Google Ads tag and your GA4 setup. But I will also recommend lists like Simprosys custom match list. Apps like this one here, the Simprosys custom match list, can really help you set up very efficient and easy lists using a plugin here. It's very cheap, I think, only a couple of dollars, and just allows you to quickly import all of your Shopify customers over to Google Ads. This is also useful for just feeding more data into the account. So I've spoken in the previous videos a lot about making sure that your account has as much data as possible for any kind of targeting, any kind of acceleration of campaign growth, acceleration of learning. It's a very, very useful thing. And what this Simprosys customer match list allows you to do is allows you to quickly set up lists of all your customers, import them to Google, and that gives Google the data to now know what your purchases converters look like, and just really helps out in a lot of ways. So I recommend checking out this plugin. It's not necessary by any means, but it can certainly be helpful. Again, let's just stick to the simple stuff: GA4 and Google Ads tagging for the majority of your automatic audience setups, which can handle most of the stuff you'll be needing. All right, now, once we have our audiences set up and we have some lists in here, you'll see the list will start populating with numbers of customers. Sometimes they may start off a little bit small if you've only just set up your account, and that's why you can't start these remarketing campaigns from the beginning. If your customer lists are too small, it's just not going to allow you to target people because it's too targeted. So you have to wait until you get to a certain threshold before you can start running these, and that's why I recommend introducing them later on in the account, not only because it's best practice, but also because it's necessary to introduce them later on. So how do we set them up? The first step is, again, campaigns. Hit the plus here to create a new campaign. I'll walk you through the display and the video. Like I said, I'll try and keep these ones nice and simple, straightforward, and really clear to the point so you know exactly how to set up the campaign and get it running. So display campaign, let's start with display. Once again, campaign objective is sales. Again, in the vast majority of e-commerce stores, you're looking for sales, and that's what you want to focus on. Conversion goals, purchases, always purchases. You never really want to be targeting anything else in your conversion goals, almost full stop. Unless you have very specific circumstances, you're almost always wanting to target purchases. All right, campaign type, display today. And then you'll put in your landing page. In our case, it's peterspants.com, a fake website, which may or may not exist. I still haven't even checked, but that is our URL we'll be using today. If you want a specific page, keep in mind, we're going to be using this campaign for remarketing. So if you've designed a specific landing page just for re-engaging previous visitors, non-purchasers, giving them a special deal, special offer, special sales page or advertorial, whatever it may be, feel free to direct them there. If you think it's going to have a high conversion rate, direct them there. Otherwise, direct them to your base landing page, or maybe your sale page, your Black Friday page, whatever it may be. But for the majority, just putting in your base URL or a collection page that is relevant. Now, naming, again, we're sticking with similar naming conventions: display, USA targeting, remarketing campaign, right? So it's our display remarketing campaign in the USA. Awesome. Continue on, and we reach campaign settings. Again, very similar to our previous videos: United States targeting, including, make sure you always hit location options and changes to presence, not presence or interest. If you want to know why, feel free to check back on the earlier videos. And then down here, we have a whole lot of more settings. To be honest, you don't really need to mess around with any of these. If you're just trying to set up a quick display remarketing campaign, don't stress over all this stuff. It's probably not going to be worth your time for the most part. All right, budget and bidding. Now, for remarketing, we can work with a fairly low budget. for the most part, you don't want to be going too high until you're seeing, positive results within scalability, right? The thing with display is sometimes if you give a really high budget to display, it will just push out really low quality placements. So we like to keep it low while we're acquiring data and figuring out if our remarketing is going to be effective. And then from there, scaling up slowly and methodically until we reach sort of a cap on it. But starting out around $10 a day, $15 a day, whatever it may be, just trying to show some of those display ads, which are almost always in the feature of an image or a short video or a blurb ad kind of. We'll show you. We'll go through placements later. But we're just really trying to show images to people who know about us and try and re-engage them into our brand after perhaps not yet converting. Bidding. In this case, because I mentioned that this is something you introduce later on in the account, this is typically introduced at a point when you can use conversion-based bidding, right? So in this case, we'll be going to try and maximize conversion value. So we'll be using conversion value-based bidding to try and get as much conversion value out of it as possible and to leverage Google's algorithmic bidding and conversion-based automated bidding strategies. So I'd usually go with conversion value focus, and that will allow us to maximize our conversion value. Now, if we continue, also target return on ad spend, this is something that could be useful to implement after you've gathered a bit of data in the campaign. I wouldn't recommend enabling it from the get-go. If you do enable it from the beginning, make sure to set a really low target return on ad spend so you can actually get some prospecting out there and you won't restrict the campaign. Okay, targeting. Now this is where the remarketing aspect comes in. All right, so as you can see, we have an option to add targeting. When you click add targeting, you'll see there are lots of different things you can try and target. In this case, we're looking to just target audience segments. These are our specific audience segments, and this is where we find our specific data that we can use to say, okay, Google, I want you to approach these audiences and these customers specifically based on the data that I have in the account. So you'll click that, and when you do, it'll bring you to this page here. Now, what you need to do on this page is to click browse, and then under browse you'll have a range of options. One of these options will be how they have interacted with your business, and then in brackets it'll say your data segments. That's what you want. So you want to click on this one called how they have interacted with your business. Once you click on that, you will see a list of all of your potential targeting options. You'll have two options. It'll be website visitors and another one which I'm not sure what it says, but both of which will contain data segments of your own. So if we click website visitors, we can see we have lots of different options for targeting. Now in this example, we're just going to try and target all of our users. So all of our past users, people who have visited the website. This could be converters, this could be non-converters. It's just people who visited the website and are familiar with us, right? So we're going to go all users targeting, and you can see we've selected that, all users. And then what you want to do is just done and save that one. And then once you've saved it, down below this one, you'll see there will be an option for optimized targeting. Make sure you uncheck that. It's going to be automatically checked. It's going to be automatically turned on. Expand the menu and uncheck it. We do not want to use optimized targeting. Although it tells you that optimized targeting performs well, I haven't really seen that so far. I find that if I'm running a remarketing campaign where I'm just trying to remarket to my existing users, it doesn't help to expand targeting because I only want to show it to people who visit my website. I don't want to show this out to anyone else, right? This is an ad that's going to be specifically tailored for people who visited my website. So I have no need to expand my targeting with this optimized targeting setting. So stay away from that in most cases. It probably won't be helpful for you. All right. Now, after we finish that, we'll be able to hit next. And then what we will see is the ad creation screen. And look at that. We've already blazed through to the ad creation, the very last step of the display campaign. These campaigns are super easy to set up. And they can just very easily start showing ads to people who've already seen you, already engaged with you, have a higher chance of converting, and that's why it is so helpful. In this ad, very, very straightforward. Once again, you choose a final URL. So in our case, we're just going to our base domain here, Peter's Pans, and then you'll see that we have business name, images, logos, videos, headlines, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this one is pretty straightforward. If you just want to run images, that is completely fine. I think that's a good idea. I don't think you require videos in these, as far as I'm aware. Again, it just says here, one landscape image required, one square image required. Just make sure for all of your ad copy, all of your images, all of your creatives that you're using in these ads, you want to make sure that these creatives are tailored specifically to this kind of audience. Now, whether the audience you're targeting is checkout abandoners, cart abandoners, or just website visitors, whoever it is, you want to make sure that your graphics are targeted towards them. So for example, in this case where we're just targeting website visitors, maybe you might want to create an image where it's showing a specific offer, right? It's like, okay, well, enter code Peter30 for 30% off your pen. And you only want to show this to people who visited the website because it's giving them a special offer to return to the website and make another purchase, right? It's going to be specifically tailored to this group of people who already know about you. So you don't need to introduce your brand. You don't need to say who you are. You just need to say, hey, we know you know about us. Here's an offer. Just come back to the site, make a purchase. That's the goal of these ads. And you need to keep that in mind with all of your creatives, all of your headlines, all of your descriptions, everything you write. Once again, don't agonize over headlines and descriptions. Images are much more important in this case in these type of ads. Having some high quality image creative, some high quality images mocked up is going to be very, very helpful for you. And then if you wish, you can put in videos here. I don't typically run videos on display campaigns very often. I usually just go with images for the most part. But videos can work sometimes if you decide to bring them in. Just make sure you're keeping a close eye on performance comparison between assets where you can. If that requires you to use different ads for different assets to compare them, make sure you're doing so. But that is the entire guide for setup. After you've finished creating your ad with your headlines, your descriptions, all of your assets, all of your extensions, site links, everything like that, you just hit publish and you are all good to go. And that is the brief guide for display. So let's move over now to videos. Now, video is a little bit of a longer setup, but again, very, very straightforward with this guide here. I'll show you exactly how to do so. First of all, we are again selecting the sales objective, selecting the purchase as the conversion goals, and then selecting video campaign type. Now, those are the first steps. As you'll see after this, there's a little message from Google at the moment. In early 2025, video campaigns are going to be upgraded to demand gen campaigns. So I think I mentioned this in the overview video of this module, the overview module of this course, and also a couple modules earlier, but we are going to get removed from the video campaign type is going to be sunset, right? So we're just not going to be able to see this one here anymore in the future. So that is not a major issue because we do have the alternate demand gen, and I will be walking you guys through a demand gen setup later on. I just want to walk you through the video remarketing setup right now because typically when I'm running remarketing campaigns for videos, I use this campaign type just because I prefer the control in here and I find it more straightforward than the demand gen setup at this moment. But I do still run demand gen video campaigns, and I will show you how to set those ones up in a coming module, I think 2 modules away from now. But until then, we will focus on this campaign. So how are we going to set it up? Video campaign name, once again, consistent naming. I have apparently missed the last part of this, so I'm just going to type it in here. Boom. All right, there we go. Quick little fix there. So we're going campaign name, video campaign, campaign type, location, USA, type, purpose of campaign, remarketing. There we go. Boom. All right, we got a nice name there. Consistent name, consistent conventions between campaigns, easy to see. Locations, entering the United States. In this case, we aren't able to select the presence instead of presence or interest option, but that's okay. It's typically still decent targeting. That is something that you always need to keep in mind with your display campaigns and even video campaigns sometimes is that the targeting is more loose, but that is typically all right in the case of what we're using the videos for, especially if you have those strict remarketing audiences that you're targeting. So we'll get to that in just a moment. Languages, English, bid strategy, maximize conversions. Once again, this is only a campaign type that we're introducing later on. So it is okay for us to start using conversion-based bidding strategies. In this case, you can't use maximize conversion value on video, but you can use maximize conversions. So that is what we are rolling with for the moment. Budget, once again, pretty similar to the image display campaign. However, I'd honestly usually go a little bit higher than the image campaign because video remarketing does tend to do better than display remarketing. So I recommend maybe slightly higher, perhaps $10, $20 on this one. One thing I will say is that the video remarketing campaigns are typically much more efficient than image display remarketing campaigns. So I would recommend investing into video remarketing before investing into display remarketing. I think it will yield a higher ROI and will also typically have better reach better engagement, and just better numbers overall. So start with your video remarketing, and if you feel the need, introduce display remarketing down the line. If the Pmax isn't doing it for you, hint, hint, we'll get to Pmax in just a moment, but you can certainly use it for some useful remarketing techniques. So we'll get there very shortly. Now, what else have we got? That's a budget. Again, yeah, $20 a day, $30 a day. Totally depends on your performance and your overall budget, but I'd recommend keeping this at maybe 10 to 15% of the total account budget, a pretty small margin, but it can bring back really good results if you have high quality creatives involved. Networks is essentially uneditable, so we're just going to leave that there. You can add site links in to increase your engagement. Probably isn't going to get you 24% more conversions, but it could help you improve the quality of your ads. So I recommend adding site links where possible. Again, that's very straightforward. Just follow through the prompts in there to get them sorted. Now, product feed. This is very powerful and it's very helpful, and it's something that I really like working with in the account. So we can attach a specific product feed to the campaign, and this product feed will essentially show your Google Merchant Center products below the video ads directly in, like, in the YouTube app, for example. It will show your product right there, clickable below the ad. So it's really, really helpful, and especially if you're using specific products with specific ads. So you have like an ad for us, example, a category, non-stick fry pans, and then below it you have a product feed of just non-stick fry pans. You don't have a product feed of every fry pan, just non-stick ones. That really helps increase relevance and helps increase your click-through rates and conversion rates, everything good about it. Highly, highly recommend integrating this. All you have to do is tick the box and select your Merchant Center account that has linked to Google Ads. Then we go down to devices. Now, if you're running just YouTube Shorts, I typically recommend targeting mobile devices. Pretty rare that you get people watching Shorts on desktop, and even when you do, it's usually not super high quality traffic. So if you are running just Shorts and just vertical ads, set your targeting for only mobile phones. But if you're running landscape and portrait style ads, keep probably all devices, right? Keep in mind that Google will optimize your placements and your videos that show based on where the performance is. So if you're getting a lot of conversions through mobile phones and you have all eligible devices enabled, Google will start to show more of your ads on mobile phones in comparison to other devices. So keep that in mind, and change that depending on the format of your ads. Frequency capping. Now, this is a setting that tells you how many times people will see your ads per day as a limit. Now, like 3 impressions per day is absolutely enough, right? I think if anyone's receiving more than 3 impressions of a single ad per day, they're unlikely to change your opinion after the 3rd one, right? So this doesn't necessarily mean that every person will see your ad 3 times a day, but definitely cap around this level, because any views beyond this, any impressions beyond this threshold are very unlikely to have any positive effect, and they're probably just going to be wasting your money. So I recommend impression capping to 3 impressions per day and going from there. Ad schedule, you can change it if you wish. I just go with all day. Third-party measurement, that's probably not relevant for most people here. Video enhancements. Now, these I also like to turn off. Basically, you can enable these controls to let Google automatically generate edits of your video. As I'm sure you can imagine, they're typically not high quality and they could often crop out important details. So I don't really like to use these. At the end of the day, it's like I want to know exactly what ads I'm showing. In this case, sometimes you're not entirely sure what kind of edits Google is showing on your ads. And you're not sure, you don't know how it's going to edit your ads. So I don't recommend doing this, because you're spending money on, you don't even know what you're spending money on, right? You could be spending money on these ads that look absolutely terrible, that Google's generating automatically. So I do not recommend going with these ones. Continue on there. This is the ad group now. We can see that the ad group I've renamed just site visitors remarketing. Once again, we're just going to target people who visited the site, not necessarily cart abandoners or checkout abandoners, but you can do so. Product viewers, you can also do so, whatever kind of lists you have available, and have populated enough to run specific targeting towards. Product filter. Now, this is a very interesting one. As I said before, you can show specific products with your ads in the Merchant Center feed below the ad. Now, like I said, if we go back to that pan example, Peter's pans example, you'll know that, we have a category of non-stick pans, and then we have a category of stainless steel pans, for example. If we've created a remarketing ad specifically focused on non-stick pans, what we're going to want to do is hit specific products, and then very similar to the shopping ads, which I previously showed you, you can select your specific products that you want to show on the ad. So you can select those and then save it there, and then you'll only get those products showing in this ad group, which is great. Then you can create another ad group with different products and a different ad if you wish. But in our case, we're just going to go with all products. And I'm going to imagine that we have a very broad remarketing ad, right? So this is just something like, hey, come to peterspants.com. We'll give you a 20% off voucher for anything in the store, right? So that is applicable to all products, and we can just continue showing all products below the ad. Next up is the targeting. So this is how we actually target the remarketing, very similar to the display remarketing. In this case, we go add an audience. Then when you click that, it'll take you to, you have to hit the drop down here in audience and click add an audience. Then it'll take you to this screen where you have lots of different ways you can add things that people are interested in. We're going to title this one site visitors. Like I said, we're just trying to target people who have visited the site, not necessarily any other interactions. And you can see also we can target people based on activity apps, visited sites, based on interest life events, based on exclusions, based on demographics. So we have lots and lots of options. But in this case, we're just going to focus on site visitors. And that is within your data. Go into your data, click add your data, very similar to the shopping campaigns. If you didn't see, not shopping campaigns, very similar to the display campaigns just up here, where we select the specific targeting data. Where were we? Just in here. You find your specific targeting. So in our case, once again, it's all users of brand name. And we select that for our targeting. And then we are good to go. And we save this audience with just that in there. So now we know this audience is just based on our site visitors. And you can see it here, site visitors, this many weekly impressions, and all users of brand name. And then we have the option for optimized targeting if we wish to use it, and we usually do not. So once again, uncheck this. In the case of remarketing, we don't want to use optimized targeting at all. We only want to show these ads to people who have visited our website. So we don't want to expand our targeting. Otherwise, Google could be showing your ads to absolutely anyone. So keep it nice and tight, nice and targeted, and you are likely to see better results from the campaign. Now, here's an example of a little video ad that I've just quickly whipped up for you guys, just to show you how to do it. Now, I've just stolen this video from a YouTube short of someone talking about frying pans, just to be relevant for the example. And all you have to do is grab the URL of the YouTube video. You can either pull it through as a public video, or you can post it to YouTube as an unlisted video with a link. But in both cases, you do need to upload your video to YouTube in order to run it as a video ad. So make sure you create a YouTube account, upload it to YouTube. Once it's uploaded, you grab the URL, put the URL in here, and then you are good to go. The video's in there. All you have to do is fill out some of the easy stuff, call to action, landing page URL. Again, if you have a specific landing page for past visitors, or if you have just the base landing page, that's fine. Put it in there. Call to action. In this case, I just pick shop now. Headline, something catchy, 40% off all pants for BCFM. Awesome. It's meant to be BFCM. I'm not sure why that type is in there. Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And then long headline. Again, this is going to, what you can do is cycle through these previews here, and you'll see all the potential previews of where your headlines are going. Now, in this very common placement of YouTube Shorts, you'll see the description is the one that shows here. So shop our never before seen deals with up to 50% off the best frying pans in the market. Awesome. And then long headline, this is showing up in different placements, headlines showing up in different placements. Like I said, cycle through them here to see your different options. Alrighty. And then ad name, just give it the name of whatever you wish. I usually go with remarketing one. There you go. And companion banner. This is no biggie. Just use your channel banner as long as you have a channel banner uploaded to YouTube, which takes about 2 seconds. So just throw that on as well. And that is everything. Again, fill out everything necessary in here. You don't need to write 100 headlines or 100 long headlines or whatever you want. Just put in some high quality 1 or 2 headlines, descriptions, and you'll be more than ready to go with that. And then you should be good to publish the ad. And there you go. You have your very own video remarketing campaign, if you've made it correctly and you have high quality customers and a high quality product, there's a very good chance that your video remarketing campaign will produce a positive ROAS, a profitable ROAS, and it's probably going to be fairly scalable too. So I wish you all the best with that one. And then the display campaigns, one other thing I will mention is when it comes to ad creation, like I said before, you don't need to fill absolutely everything in for your headlines, descriptions, and long headlines, everything like that. Make sure you have at least one or two of each, but don't go too crazy, because at the end of the day, you're probably going to end up populating with lower quality stuff towards the end. I think it's much, much better that you focus on writing high quality copy for 2 to 3 headlines rather than just pumping out another 10 of like low quality rubbish, right? So just make sure you're putting in some high quality creative in here, just enough to get the ad going and enough to do a little bit of testing and to figure out what headlines work best for you. And you are very likely to produce some high quality results. And that is all for remarketing. As you can tell, we have been coming along nicely with the modules here. And the next module on the list is going to be Pmax campaigns, which is going to be a wild ride and a very interesting topic, and one which I certainly think you should watch because you will get a lot of value from, depending on the position of your account right now. But that is all for today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you. Hello, and welcome back to the next module. Today, I'm going to be walking you through Pmax campaigns. Now, the Pmax campaign setup that I'm going to walk you through in this specific module is going to be a part of the very specific strategy that I've been teaching you so far. And it's something that is fairly new, actually. It's only really been in Google Ads for under a month, but it's a very, very effective strategy. And when this is used in concert with our shopping campaigns, we have a lot of potential for growth. Now, the best part about Pmax is that it's super easy to set up. So once you get the campaigns sorted in the settings, there are a few very, very important settings you have to get right. But once you do get them all sorted, it's a very quick process, which is great for us. And Pmax is, as a campaign as a whole, is very, very reliant on data and very reliant on the Google algorithm. So what it is as a campaign is it's something that allows you to take full advantage of all of Google's arsenal, essentially, and really use all of their algorithm, all of their placements to get the most out of your spend in an ideal world. But the issue is when they're not contained or using the correct strategy, they can waste a lot of money. So please do follow along and make sure that you watch this whole strategy and get everything sorted, because if this Pmax is set up correctly, it can make you a lot of money. Now, before we get started, the primary purpose of this Pmax strategically is to be used as a remarketing weapon, right? Now, you'll remember that when we set up our shopping campaigns back here, these shopping campaigns have been set up to really focus on new customer acquisition. And the priority there is to use our shopping campaigns as the funnel for bringing in new customers, people who we haven't seen before, and people who are going to purchase from us from searching for our products, right? We've excluded branded traffic, as you know, and we're just targeting those real new customers that we're looking for outside of our branded shopping campaign, of course. However, with Pmax now, the goal is to have a campaign that allows us to retarget those shopping customers with the shopping listings once again and hit them with really, really relevant and high intent ads. So it should get us some really great results. And without further ado, I will get you started on the campaign setup now. As always, campaigns plus to create our new campaign. Go down to sales objective as always, purchases as the account goal, the account conversion goal rather, and then performance max as our campaign type. Now, up until very lately, I typically use performance max campaigns quite differently, but there are a lot of limitations in the way that I use them. So I'm very glad with a recent update that Google has pushed through, in that it has allowed us to use performance max campaigns in a much more controlled and effective manner. And that's why I'm really excited to show you guys this new strategy that is completely brand new on the Google Ads scene. And really not many people are using it, but the early adopters of this strategy will make a fantastic amount of money if they put it in the right way. So let's keep going. When we are advertising products in the campaign, this is absolutely necessary. We need our merchant center set up correctly. Once again, this is going to link in our shopping campaigns, with our Pmax campaigns. Keep that in mind. So all of our merchant center has to be set up right to make sure that we are advertising the right products at the right times. So add products to this campaign, advertise the merchant center, and add in your merchant center account. All you have to do is click it there. Once they're linked, I've showed you in the previous videos how to link your merchant center back in the shopping campaign setup module. If you haven't seen that yet, definitely watch that before this video. It's a pivotal part of the structure, and the Pmax campaign won't work properly if you don't have your shopping campaigns set up the right way. Now, campaign name, Pmax, USA, feed only, remarketing focus, right? Once again, campaign type, geo-targeting, purpose, feed only, remarketing focus, right? This is an example of my feed only title. Obviously, we'll have a different title for our non-feed only if you choose to use it, which I don't really recommend. Now, before we go any further, I do want to also emphasize that this Pmax campaign that I'm going to show you how to set up, the feed only remarketing Pmax campaign, is a campaign type which only will work in this specific setup that we've got going with the other shopping campaigns, and it will only work in a certain priority setup, which I will walk through after. But you have to make sure that you have set up all of your campaigns so far according to the setup guides that I've given you, but really only in shopping is the most important part. Display campaigns and video campaigns for remarketing are very different, but they are still relevant, but they're not really relevant to this strategy. This strategy is one which intertwines between Pmax and shopping. So you need to make sure your shopping campaigns are set up exactly as I have prescribed earlier, and that will make sure our Pmax campaign is working properly. And this is something which I would recommend bringing into the account once you have got some sales coming in. So again, this is at a similar point I think I outlined in the overview. This is around step 2. So this is when you have consistent conversions coming in, you have a bit of data coming in, you've got sales being made, you have an idea of your best products, and you can quite easily tell what products you need to be working with to get high results, right? High performance. And what we're going to do is use Pmax to the advantage there to remarket some of our products that we've already seen success with, and that way improve our results. So let's keep going. Bidding. Now, like I said, this is coming around the step 2 stage of the account. So we already have established data in the account, established conversions in the account, so we can focus on conversion value as a bidding focus. Now, what this is going to do is going to try and maximize conversion value, which is exactly what we want out of this campaign. The way you can sort of see this campaign is like a follow-on sort of retargeting, as I've said a few times now, just a follow-on campaign from the shopping, right? So the shopping gives people that first touch. The shopping brings in the new customers, gets you all that great data that you need to see. And then this Pmax just sort of comes in and says, oh, we've sold someone was interested in that product from a shopping campaign earlier. So let's show them another ad. Let's try and hit them with that product again. And basically, it's just going to keep following up on all of your existing leads almost that have been brought in by that shopping campaign. And it's going to get you some really good results. And that's why you want to maximize conversion value, because you're going to be trying to get as much as possible out of those customers that are in the funnel. You can set a target return on ad spend at a certain point if you need to, but I generally just recommend going with maximize conversion value. I don't think the target ROAS is the best call in a lot of cases for this specific campaign type, just due to the way that it's set up. Now, customer acquisition, no need to optimize for new customers because, like I said, it's a retargeting-esque campaign. So, campaign settings, targeting, very similar to others. We're just going to go for the example of United States. We don't have that additional option here, but that's okay. Languages, standard, English. Automatically created assets. Make sure to open this window and turn these off. We don't want Google helping us create assets. Always keep in mind what all you want is to have as much control as possible over your ads. Whenever you allow Google to automatically create things, you don't know what you're showing, you don't know what you're paying for, and it's just really not a great route to go down. So always disable these when you have the opportunity. In this case, keep that off. And then hit next. Now, you're going to be taken to this screen where once again, Google is trying to automatically generate your assets for you. You don't want all this scary red boxes pop up when you remove your text because it really wants you to use this, but don't use it, don't fall for it. Just leave the screen blank and hit skip and continue on. Now, this is the recommended strategy with Pmax that I'm going to show you first of all, and most importantly, listen carefully, follow through very clearly, and make sure you got all this going. It's really easy to set up, but just make sure you get all these settings right because otherwise the strategy and campaign will not work as expected. All right, so After you go past skip the automatically creation screen, you'll reach the asset group screen. Now, this asset group that we're creating here is going to be all products, feed only. Now, all products is essential. You're including all of your products in this campaign because it's going to be, like I said, that remarketing, sort of just catching the people campaign who've already come in and re-following them around. So you want to have all products available so Google can really just pick and choose from the products it finds most valuable and showing them along to people. And what feed only means is, I'll break it down for you. So basically a Pmax campaign usually has all types of campaign types within all of the campaign types within the singular campaign, more or less, right? So it has search listings. So it has the text listings up the top of the search results, it has shopping listings, which is what is our main priority here. It has video listings, display listings, Gmail listings. It lists all over the internet. And the issue is if you give it too many assets to work with, it can really lower its efficiency. So what we do with a feed-only campaign is we're only using the shopping feed. We don't give it any headlines to use. We don't give it any descriptions, any images, any videos. All we give it is a shopping feed. So all Google has is those shopping results that I've covered up here, but they are the shopping listings for the specific account that will show all across the web, just the shopping listings, no other type of assets. So it's keeping ultimate efficiency on your highest return listing, which is always a shopping listing, almost always a shopping listing. And you're showing that to as many places as you can. So it's the best way to run a Pmax campaign as far as efficiency goes at this point in time, as far as I'm aware. So with that aside, like I said, we're wanting to target all products. Now, this is the critical part for creating a feed-only Pmax campaign. The way you create a feed-only campaign is you remove absolutely everything from your assets. You don't enter a URL, you don't enter headlines, you don't enter descriptions, you don't enter logos, you don't enter images, you don't enter videos, you don't enter anything at all. You leave this whole section blank for assets, right? Everything is blank. Don't do anything in assets. Keep it all removed. Now, if you accidentally have one asset existing in there, like a business logo automatically in there, and you try to create it, it'll tell you, please add all assets. Make sure you remove if you have a logo automatically set in there, remove the logo. If you have a final URL automatically set in there, remove the final URL. Remove absolutely everything from these boxes so it is completely blank, and then hit continue. And down below, before you can hit continue, you'll have the signals option. This is where you can give Google some guidance on who to show your ads to. You can put in sort of remarketing signals here, but honestly, I have not found signals to improve the results at all. I find that honestly, giving Pmax full range in targeting, what it tries to do is always find your highest intent customers. And the issue is when you put in search themes, sometimes it can guide it away from those high intent customers. Sort of, although you're trying to push it towards a high intent customers, you may not actually know your customers as well as the algorithm does. So when you give it those signals, you may be steering it in the wrong direction away from your ideal customers, which is absolutely not what we want, right? So although I hate to say it, sometimes it is right to just trust Google. And targeting is one of those few times when we don't know what happens behind the scenes with algorithms, where you actually can get a positive return from letting Google explore a bit further out. And this is honestly what I've heard as far as consensus goes for the most part, not everywhere, but the consensus among the Google Ads community right now, as far as I've heard and seen, is that typically Pmax does do a little bit better without any audience signals. So I leave this blank, I let it do its own thing, and I just go next. Again, super easy to set up, right? Now, this is another very important step that we cannot skip to make sure the strategy works correctly. We need to set high priority on a shopping campaign. Now, if we roll all the way back to when we set up our shopping campaigns, you will see that, I think it's down around here. Here we go, campaign priority. Now, like I said in the beginning of the setup, we left it as low because we only had one shopping campaign. We didn't have anything else set up, so it was fine to keep that priority. But now that we have the Pmax as well, we need to make sure our shopping campaign is set to high priority. You do this in the campaign settings. So when you're in the campaigns tab, you just click a little settings cog beside the shopping campaign, and it will allow you to change it to a high campaign priority. Now, what this means, and again, this is a shopping campaign on high priority, not the Pmax is a shopping campaign on high priority. What this means is it will prioritize a shopping campaign when someone is searching for a product. And that's what creates this Pmax campaign as a remarketing of sorts, right? So that means that if someone is searching for a stainless steel fry pan, right? And you have a shopping campaign and a Pmax campaign, but you have the shopping campaign on high priority. What will happen there is the shopping campaign's listing will show, and it will show the ad via the shopping campaign, not the Pmax campaign. And this is all sort of a new update that's come from Google, very, very fresh, very new. And it allows you to make sure that those shopping campaigns are getting priority for the first customers, and they're giving you all that great new data. And then additionally, if on those shopping campaigns, you exclude past website visitors and you exclude branded traffic, that means that the only thing you're going to target in these shopping campaigns is brand new customers, which is exactly what you want to scale, right? So you have brand new customer targeting on a shopping campaign, all new touch points and new customers, and then you leave this Pmax to scoop up all the traffic of past visitors, branded traffic, anything that your shopping campaign is not targeting. So that's what makes it so powerful, right? Your shopping is your driver of new customer acquisition, and your Pmax campaign is there to lap up everything with known visitors, known traffic, branded traffic, anything that may be coming through that needs essentially that extra bit of push, extra bit of targeting. Not necessarily always branded. We'll get to that in a sec. But it's giving you that extra push. Now, like I said, not necessarily branded. What I would honestly recommend in this specific case, because I've showed you guys how to set up the branded shopping campaign just down here. So we've gone through how to set up the branded shopping campaign. So because we have a branded shopping campaign, we don't want any branded traffic coming through this Pmax, because again, it's going to muddy our attribution. The way that you want to view things is you have your non-branded shopping as your new customer acquisition driver, branded shopping as just gathering branded traffic, same with branded search, also just gathering branded traffic, nothing else. And then you have your Pmax as just the retargeting mechanism and the follow-up mechanism to really catch any customers that haven't converted yet, which is what makes it really powerful. So the way we're going to exclude branded traffic from this Pmax campaign is you're going to go into campaigns, audience keywords content, search keywords, and then negative search keywords. And then in here, you want to add a negative keyword list of your brand name. So in our case, again, Peter's Pans is our brand name. We're adding Peter's Pans, Peter's Pans, Peter's Frying Pans, any other variants that you know that people are searching for your brand, add them all in here in exact match, and then go save to new or existing list, branded, so create a new list, and then you go save. So now you've created a negative keyword list of all the keywords that you don't want in campaigns, and you can apply this list to various campaigns. Now, the issue with Pmax is that you can't easily apply a negative keyword list yourself. They haven't created that feature yet in Pmax. So what you can do is go down to the add negative keyword list via this link. So this is a support Google link where you can fill out a form and tell Google, hey, I want you to add this negative keyword list to my Pmax campaign. And that's going to be able to exclude all of your branded traffic from that Pmax campaign and make sure it just is getting non-branded traffic, which is what we want, because we want all our branded to be in those two specific campaign types that I explained earlier. So that is the recommended Pmax setup that I have for you guys. Now, if you followed along all up until this stage and you're happy with this setup and you want to go with this setup, which is my recommendation, this is what you need to do. I am also going to show you how to set up a Pmax campaign that isn't feed only, that is all assets, standard structure. And this is the alternate structure, right? Now do not set up this account in your campaign if you have the rest of the structure running. And again, I do not personally recommend this, but I'm showing you how to set it up just for sake of clarity and being complete, right? Now, you only want to run this Pmax structure if you have no non-branded shopping campaign. So if you don't have a non-branded or new customer acquisition shopping campaign, you can use this Pmax. But I don't recommend it. I mean, it can work well in some setups, but it's generally less efficient than the setup that I've just showed you, right? The setup I've just showed you is pretty much understood as the most efficient possible setup right now for an e-commerce account. So over here, I'm showing you sort of the old setup for Pmax campaigns. And if you want to run it, it can be a little bit easier to set up, but it's also probably going to not perform as well. And it is going to give you a lot less insights on your data. So keep that in mind. And I will just quickly show you the setup process for sake of being complete and covering everything. So in this kind of campaign, basically, again, we're just setting up an asset group. In this case, it's basically a substitute for our standard shopping campaign. So it's going to be covering just the best sellers, right? And this is basically going to be an all-encompassing campaign for everything to do with the best sellers. So it removes that non-branded shopping campaign, and now it's just the Pmax is doing everything. It's doing non-branded, it's doing remarketing, it's doing branded, it's doing pretty much everything, right? Unless if you add the branded exclusions, will get rid of that, but it's doing non-branded and remarketing. And the issue that arises there is that Google often in Pmax, it really does rely heavily on retargeting traffic and branded traffic. So if you allow it to retarget, it's probably going to lean very heavily towards retargeting. And it's not really going to focus on customer acquisition, new customer acquisition. So that's a primary issue with this campaign type. Like, it'll probably give you a better return on ad spend, it'll give you better ROAS, but it's not driving new customers. It's driving existing customers and remarketing traffic, which isn't going to be as effective as a new customer acquisition campaign for overall business revenue, overall MER, and overall return from ad spend. So that is the trade-off there, right? Anyway, the way you set it up is simply going for a bestseller structure. In here, you click the little edit button to select specific products. You select your products as I showed you in the shopping campaign setup just over here. You set up your products by subdividing by item ID or category or whatever you wish. And then you put those specific products into this campaign here. Again, just your best sellers. Then in this campaign, you actually do fill out the assets, right? You give it a final URL to work with. You give it some headlines, ideally some engaging ones, something to catch their attention. This will be a last pan. Well, okay, why is it going to be the last pan I buy? BFCM, up to 40% off store-wide, trusted by 1,000 plus customers. All the important things in there. We got an offer, we got trust, we got big, bold claim. There's a lot of interesting things that get people hooked. Those are just some examples once again. Outside of the headline, you got your long headline, description, images. Images are important in Pmax. Videos, I recommend putting them in. Not absolutely necessary, but you can put them in there. And they may give you some more conversions. And that's about it. Just fill this one out with all of the assets that are relevant to your products that you're selling, relevant to your best sellers, and then head down. Once again, I don't recommend any signals. I recommend leaving it wide open for targeting, letting Google do its thing. It's probably going to do pretty well, get you a decent ROAS. But again, it's probably going to rely very heavily on retargeting and warm traffic. It's not going to be acquiring new customers. So keep that in mind. It's not going to be acquiring new customers at the same rate as the other structure. It's going to be acquiring new customers at a lower rate. And it's just going to be focusing on warm traffic. So keep that in mind as you go. And the negative keyword list is the exact same setup for this campaign type. So just follow on what I said earlier for that bit. But that is everything on Pmax. Once again, I really, really do recommend going down the route of using Pmax as a remarketing tool rather than a new customer acquisition tool, because it's going to do a lot better on the remarketing front and the warm traffic front and the nurturing front than it is to acquire new customers. So to summarize briefly, we got shopping for our new customers and branded traffic. We got search for new customers potentially and branded traffic. We got display and YouTube for remarketing. And then we got Pmax for product remarketing, right? This is, as you can see, this is coming together to be a very, very all-encompassing structure. And the last thing that we have left to cover is the top of the funnel, right? We have everything bottom of funnel. We have everything middle of funnel to set up a really high-performing account. And the one thing that we have left now is the top of funnel. That will come in the form of demand campaigns. Demand gen campaigns. My apologies. And that will be the very next module, if you stay tuned. And I recommend you do, because once we finish the demand gen campaigns, that will be our full account structure complete, and you will be ready to run your Google Ads. We are back with the final campaign type in this Google Ads mini course for setting up your Google Ads account to make great profits. And the final campaign type is demand gen campaigns. Now, as I mentioned in the overview of this course, the demand gen campaigns are going to be step 3 in your process of implementation. Unless you have a really high budget and you're looking to scale quickly, in which case you can certainly implement them at step 2. However, if you have a smaller budget and you are still looking to grow with Google Ads, and you don't really have any other major platforms, you aren't bringing in any other major sales, this is something to implement after your remarketing and Pmax efforts. But like I said, if you have the budget to spend, you have proof on other platforms, and you're just looking to scale rapidly on Google, implement this at the same time that you implement your Pmax campaigns. The reason is that this requires some budget to get going, and also requires data in the account to perform well. But once you do have the campaigns running reliably and consistently, you will find that they are extremely scalable, the most scalable types in Google Ads. In fact, the demand gen campaigns themselves are the most similar campaign type to Meta ads, Instagram ads, Meta ads. Sorry, I said Meta ads twice. Meta ads, Instagram ads, Snapchat ads, TikTok ads, anything that is really top of funnel and focuses on capturing new users, new customers, and new traffic. And that is why it is typically something that we implement later in the account. But like I said, if you have a high budget and you really want to scale, implement this at the same time as Pmax campaigns. If you have a lower budget, you're looking to go more conservatively into Google Ads, implement this after your Pmax remarketing campaigns. All right, now let's get into the setup. I'll walk you through exactly how to create these demand gen campaigns and really complete that last step of the funnel, which is bringing in more top of funnel traffic into your brand and creating a full funnel marketing system. Here we go. So as always, the starting process is to go to the campaigns tab, campaigns again, and the blue plus to create a new campaign. Bring you to this page. Once again, our objective is sales, as always, our conversion goals are purchases, and our campaign type is today, demand gen. Now, as we can see in the description here, demand gen is used to drive demand and conversions on YouTube, Discover, and Gmail with image and video ads. So it's a very versatile campaign type. It has quite a few placements, and its main purpose is just to drive more customers and get more people to know your brand and convert with your brand. So how do we name it? With our regular conventions. Once again, this is a demand gen campaign targeting the USA, focusing on bestsellers, and using a conversion-based bidding strategy. Now, the reason, again, we're starting with bestsellers is this is typically always best practice in accounts. When you're starting a new campaign type, I almost always recommend going with bestsellers, except in exceptions that I've already outlined. But in this case, we will be starting with our best-selling products so we can get quick data into the account, we can test rapidly, and we can start to drive some immediate results with our top-of-funnel campaigns and demand generation campaigns. So with our product feeds, I absolutely recommend turning on our product feeds with these ads. What this will allow you to do is it will allow you to present your product catalog right beside or in line with or below or wherever it may be, right near your ads, right? So if you're running, for example, a video out on YouTube, you'll have your products just laid out right below the video for people to click and for people to go straight through to that product and purchase. It can increase conversion rates massively. It simplifies the user journey. It makes things a lot more streamlined, and it just works really, really well when it's set up correctly. So absolutely turn on your product feed, select your Merchant Center account, and continue on. Now, we'll be focusing on conversions in this case. If you have the option to select conversion value, go ahead, feel free. The only thing is at the beginning, if you don't already have results with these campaigns, you will not be able to select conversion value. So we'll be starting with conversions in this trial account and then probably your account as well for the most part. Our conversion goals, once again, are purchases as always, and do not start with a target CPA. Starting a target CPA is an opportunity for you to set a target for the campaign to try and hit at a cost per conversion. The only issue is at the beginning of these campaigns, when you're setting them up, you won't really know what kind of CPA you can expect. Obviously, you can have goals, but setting these goals, if they're misaligned with potential performance on Google, is going to very much slow down your process of scaling and optimizing your campaigns. We want to give Google enough allowance to find its own CPA, find a relative CPA, a reasonable CPA can hit, and then set a target from there, which it can sort of aim towards. So never set up with a target CPA to start with unless you already have a lot of data on the product in these specific campaign types, but almost always keep this unchecked when you're starting a new campaign. Budget and dates. All right, budget, as always, is incredibly dependent on your AOV and your overall advertising budget. But with these types of campaigns, you really do have to invest quite a bit to get your conversions rolling in. If your product AOV is, for example, maybe $10, $20, a budget of $50 per day is probably a reasonable starting point. If your AOV is close to $50, you may be looking to spend $100+ per day to really try and actually get some results coming in. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting a very long time to start seeing results. The more money you spend, the better results you get on Google. I hate to admit it, but that is the case, as long as you're spending it correctly, obviously. But the more you spend, typically, the better results you get. So as much as you can afford into this campaign, I would recommend. Now, by the time you're implementing these campaigns, you are probably very focused on new customer acquisition. So in that case, I would recommend allocating maybe 30-40% of probably about 30% of the full campaign, of the full account budget into these demand gen campaigns. So if you're spending, $500 a day, that may be the fact you're spending about $150 per day on these demand gen campaigns, right? And that is sort of what you need to be scaling the new customer acquisition with these campaigns. So that is a rough guide on budget. Totally depends on your product AOV, but keep it around a reasonably high range, or 30% of your full account budget to make sure that you're actually allocating enough to scale up and get some conversions rolling in. Alrighty, location and language. In this case, as you can see, we're targeting the USA for this whole campaign. So what I've done is I've flicked on campaign level location language targeting, so we can just make sure the entire campaign is focused on the US. But if you want to do it on an ad group level, you are able to. In this case, we're just going with the campaign level. And so we will go down to locations, United States, selected, and we're good to go. Languages, English, good to go. Now for these settings down here, you'll see you can choose devices, ad schedules, devices. If you're running YouTube Shorts, you may want to just filter this down to simply mobile devices. However, you do actually have the option in demand gen campaigns to select videos to display on just Shorts format, although there are some caveats to that. Basically, if you want to focus just Shorts, feel free to narrow this down to only mobiles. But also, switching on that Shorts targeting later on in the process will do most of the work and will probably push most of your videos to mobile if you have the setup correct. The other setting you need to look at is Google Video Partners. Make sure this is disabled. We do not want to be using Google Video Partners. Very similar to the display network, similar to the search network. It's just low quality video placements. It's not going to get you the same kind of results as typical Google placements will. After you finish with those settings, you can head into the Ad Group 1 section on the top left corner of your display. You'll see just under the Google Ads logo, so you can pick Ad Group 1. And now we move into the Ad Group creation. So with the ad groups themselves, I would typically recommend splitting them out by themes. So for example, we may be grouping a bunch of creatives in here that are all UGC product review creatives. So this may be several different iterations of a product review, UGC type, maybe 3 to 5 creatives or something similar to that, right? And you'll have them all in the one ad group. So your targeting and your relevance is very high, right? So for this example, let's say we are selling a stainless steel pan and we have 5 different product reviews, 5 different creatives for a UGC product review of the stainless steel pan, right? And so that is how we would group these videos into a singular ad group. It's by theme, right? Now within this product group, as you can see, we can select the products that show within our ads. Once again, if we are running, for example, the stainless steel pan, we'll want to select specific products, and then we'll have to select by item ID, for example, click and enable. I've blocked out notice for privacy on this one, but you'll be able to click each of the products that you want. You can search for these specific products, and you'll just want to select all of your stainless steel pans in here to make sure that you're just showing the products that are relevant for the ad group. So once again, that'll be the stainless steel pan in this case. All right, and for audience, you can test with this, right? What I recommend based on what I've seen so far and what has happened, what the results I've seen lately in my campaigns for demand gen, I find that fully open targeting actually does the best for me in a lot of cases. However, in some cases, I have found that giving some audience signals can be helpful. If you do choose to add audience signals, just make sure you don't add any of your own account data. Don't add any remarketing signals or audiences or converters or anything like that, because that's going to push Google towards targeting warm traffic, branded traffic, which you do not want in demand gen campaigns, right? Remember that demand gen campaigns, the goal of these campaigns is new customer acquisition. We don't want to be telling Google to go after people who already know about us. So make sure you do not include any data from your own customer lists or your own audience bases. Just include, also probably don't go with any affinity segments. They're very, very wide segments and they don't really have a whole lot of meaning to them. Go in market segments, search themes, demographics, whatever you think may be relevant to test with, and keep it fairly conservative. Don't go too hard on the audience signals there, because if you do too many, you probably won't be able to test very effectively what actually works for you. So either go with no targeting at all, or just a few signals here and there, maybe 3 to 5 kind of search themes, and then a few, maybe 1 to 2 in market segments, a couple of demographic adjustments, and then take it from there. But that's my general advice on audience setup. If you want to keep it simple, just leave it blank. Optimize targeting, make sure to turn this off. I've described this in a couple of the previous videos, but we do not like optimized targeting. It just sort of causes Google's targeting to go absolutely wild, and you don't really get super high quality traffic a lot of the time. So I like to keep that turned off for the majority of the time. Sometimes you can test it in the future if you already have some results, but again, I just wouldn't worry about it for now. All right, and after we've done our ad group setup, the next section is the ad setup, which again, you can find in the top left of your dashboard. Just click on add one, and we'll go right into our first example, which is a video. Now, before I speak about these examples, I think video ad types are definitely the most effective and highest return in demand gen from what I've seen so far. So I absolutely recommend starting with video campaigns in demand gen. These are the ones that, especially if you have existing creatives over on Meta, on Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it may be, if you have existing creatives that you already know perform well, bringing them across into video campaigns on demand gen can be a incredibly valuable exercise for scaling, right? It just gives proven creatives another channel to run on, and it can bring in, 2+ ROAS very often on completely cold traffic, which is just wonderful, right? You're getting in completely new customers at a 2 ROAS, and then you can remarket them as much as you want, send them out some email blasts, and you're probably going to end up with 3-4 ROAS on that customer from the first acquisition. So it's really good stuff, especially these video campaigns, which are very high efficiency. So how do you set it up? All right, you go into the video, as I said, go into add one, and then you'll see this screen. So we'll go for a video on products ad. Remember, we have the product feed included here, and we'll call it, for example, UGC video one, right? We've got this is the theme of this ad group is going to be the UGC product review theme. So it's just UGC video one. All right. And we have the final URL. In this case, it's a review of stainless steel pan. So gone for peterspans.com/stainless. If you've got a very specific product running, just a singular product, you may want to lead the URL directly to that product. And what I've done here is I've just pulled a random YouTube short about stainless steel pans, which probably would work pretty well as an advertisement if you were selling them, right? As like a low-key advertisement. But you can't just pull this person's creative because it's their content, so don't do that. I'm just using it as an example, right? And when you do import the YouTube video here, you have a setting to choose where your videos show. Now, what you can do here is you can choose if you want to show it on Shorts, in-stream, and the other option in feed. Now, as you can see here, we've chosen to show it on Shorts. However, the only issue is here that to ensure your videos only show on the formats you choose at least one video show on each format, or a video that shows on all formats. So the problem is we can only show this video on Shorts if we have 2 other videos that are showing on the other options. And it's not exactly clear what Google does if you don't have all of these options for it. But my assumption is, and based on the data I've seen so far, is that it does actually show it on the other in the other formats, which is quite unfortunate. So that's why I do recommend, if you just want to show Shorts, put these Shorts in a mobile only targeting, as I was saying up here. Turn on your devices to just mobiles. That's going to narrow it down a lot further, and again, increases your chances of showing on the Shorts placement. I think this, from what I've seen, I do think this increases your chances of being displayed on the Shorts placement. But again, you can't guarantee that you won't be on these placements. And then using the mobile targeting as well is just going to increase your chances once again. So that's the best you can do to try and get a short specific placement. But you still may get those in-stream and in-feed, in-stream and in-feed placements too. So keep that in mind when you're running your ads. And then finally, the other setting you need to keep in mind is you have the video enhancements section down below, just a little bit further down below on there. Make sure to turn this off. I explained this again in the previous videos. For the most part, we don't really want Google editing any of our creatives because we don't know what they're going to do with them. They may show in a really ugly format that cuts off words or cuts off content. So for the most part, just leave this turned off. In this campaign, just leave it turned off. Work with the creatives you've got. and work with the content that you know is going to show. Now, aside from that, for the rest of the ad, just fill out all of the fields as per according to your headlines, descriptions, long headlines, site links, whatever it may be, all right? Add them all in, make sure they're all looking good, and keep everything nice and clean in there. Again, don't go too overboard with the headlines, descriptions, and everything. 1, 2, maybe 3 of each is fine. And the best part about having a limited amount of those that are high quality is you can test between them on different ads, right? So, make sure you're doing it in a scientific way where you are only really using limited combinations. Because if you have, 5 options in every, 5 headlines, 5 descriptions, 5 long headlines, I don't think you do 5 long headlines, but you get what I'm saying. If you have too many of those, there's going to be so many different potential combinations that will show in your ad that it's going to be impossible for you to figure out which headlines actually perform best. So keeping your headlines limited, descriptions limited, means that you can really clearly tell which ones perform better, especially if you have split tests with identical content and only one change in each variable. So that's something more optimization related than setup related, but keep it in mind. Don't go too overboard with your filling out your assets down here. Just keep it nice and simple, keep it high quality, and make sure you're including all the necessary content, right? Okay. And by the way, when I say like 1, 2, or 3, that's only for these specific ones because in most cases they don't show multiple headlines. If you're running like a search ad, you need at least 3 headlines, right? You can't go anywhere below 3. But you guys will sort that out as you go on. Again, just keep it high quality, keep it focused, keep it extremely relevant to the products you're running, and you will get great results. All right, another example, image. Now, if you're going to run image ads, you need to run these in a different ad group. Now, remember, in this case specifically, right, we've got bestsellers as the overall campaign theme, and then we have an ad group for the UGC product review, videos, right? And we may have another ad group for images. If you want, you can even spread out these image ad groups into a totally different campaign, but they at least need to be separated into a different ad group. And then within that ad group, you may have several image ads, which you select as an image and products ad, call it static ad 1, lead it to a relevant page, and then enter in all your images, all your logos, all your headlines, same as before, and just fill that one out, make sure it's looking nice, really high quality. And then finally, you have one last placement, which is the product ads. Now, these are very new, actually. They're quite new. I actually don't have a whole lot of data on them yet, but I certainly think they're worth trialing. And once again, make sure this is in a different ad group if you're going to run it, at least a different ad group, potentially a different campaign. And when you do so, again, product ad, final URL, and then just your assets as per. And the product will show, for example, right here with your headline description below. And on these video placements, if you have the product feed included, it can show down below the video there. So that is how to create your demand gen campaigns with all of the necessary settings and setup. And that's it. That's exactly how to scale your brand on Google Ads from start to finish with every single detail. Now, if you've just watched this whole video and you are going, wow, I'm extremely overwhelmed. That's so much information. I don't have time to implement all this. I want to be able to focus on improving my product, improving my customer experience, improving every other aspect of my business, then that's totally fair. I completely understand, and I have been in the same situation in the past. And that is why I run Google Ads for a lot of my clients, because they want to focus on those high leverage opportunities, and they can let us run Google Ads in the background and make them a whole lot of money. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to book a call with me down below. We can have a chat, figure out if Google Ads is a good opportunity for you, if I think we can help you scale up, and if we can get started and I can help you make a lot more money with Google. So feel free to book a call down below if you're interested. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.